If Jason still haunts you, you're not alone. All right, everyone, welcome to the fifth in a series of Friday the 13th discussions with Jesse from Down Under. This time we're here coming your way to talk about a fan favorite and or fan hated film by the name of Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning, and it'll be interesting to see how long this goes. Jesse was thinking somewhere around an hour. I think that's a little too short for I'm gonna say maybe 3 hours. I'd say maybe somewhere around this 3 hours this discussion will go for. This will be the most interesting probably talk out of all of them because we're kind of divided on this particular film. I've grown to like it. I don't think Jesse ever liked it, so it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see, in fact, how long this discussion does go. If it's just me talking and Jesse, going to the bathroom or whatever. But at any rate, welcome again, Jesse.
Hey, folks. Thanks for having me on the show again, Nate. 3 hours? I don't know. I don't want to say never, but that could be a stretch. I did say an hour, maybe two. It'll be interesting, though, man. Like, I got some things to say.
Well, why don't I start off first with my history with Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. I'm pretty sure I've told you this in the past, that I'm pretty sure, in the spring of 1989, my dad and I think we rented all the films. I would imagine we did them in order over the course of many weeks. We usually rent a film on Friday and have a pizza and do that kind of weekly father-son thingamabob that we used to do. And I would imagine I saw this for the very first time in, the spring of 1989 when I was 12 years old. And I can remember being a kid and thinking, what the fuck? Feeling like what probably a lot of people thought when the first time they saw it. And actually, it'd be a year later when I'd actually, from Suncoast, I'd actually start slowly acquiring the films on VHS bought from, actually the actual VHSs bought from a store, Suncoast at the time, and I'd buy I think I mentioned before I exchanged this 2-pack of Hellraiser 1 and R-rated Hellraiser 2 for the first film on VHS, and I think that kind of, when I was 13, I think that kind of spurred on the, me wanting to just continue to buy them on VHS, and I remember when I was 13, I probably bought 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on VHS as well. And whenever 8 became affordable, I would go on to buy that as well. But when I was 13, a year later, is when I kind of really started to enjoy The New Beginning for what it had to offer, even though it was kind of imposter Jason and had nothing to do with Jason. So I guess that'll be my intro for my history with the film.
Interesting, then. It's interesting how there's some parallels with, like, what I did, too, because I ended up doing that later on, too, man. Buying the movies, individually and stuff, official VHS copies of them and stuff. But, my history with the film. I remember this would be one of the ones I guess I would have the clearest memory of seeing for the first time, man, because because it just was so polarizing at the time. And I remember, man, watching it with my dad, and I think I remember asking his thoughts before the movie started, part 4 was so great, what's this one like? And he wouldn't say much. He's like, oh yeah, let's just watch it, sort of thing. And I'm like, okay. So watching the movie, and then it gets to that ending. But before it got to that ending, man, I remember the whole time I'm watching the film and I'm thinking, something's off here. This just it just doesn't have the same flavor exactly is those first 4 films. Something's a bit off here. And I don't care, because I know a lot of folks out there probably won't believe me anyway when I say this, but this is true. When I first saw the film, like I noticed Jason had a very, quote unquote Jason had a very different look. I'm like, what's with these blue chevrons? Like, why has he got that on his mask? You know what I mean? And the thing was, like, because me and my dad were such big movie buffs and stuff, like we had like we've always had like larger TV sets and stuff. So I had a TV set, a good size where I could, notice like little details like that. And I remember noticing that, thinking that's kind of strange. You know what I mean? And then it gets to that ending, and like, to say the least, like, I was fucking pissed. Okay, I was really fucking pissed, and I was like, "Who the fuck's this guy? This guy ain't Jason," But I want to preface by saying, like, I really don't subscribe to like people who are like huge fans of this movie who say, if you don't like the film, they're like, oh, you just don't like it because it's Roy and it's not Jason. Like, I mean, that's an initial response that you're going to have. And I don't care. Like, I reckon even people who adore this film, what few of them there are, I think even they had to have had some sort of a response like that when they first saw it. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, it really is kind of a shock ending, if you will, in a way. Yeah, I mean, but that's like nowadays. That's like, I mean, it's still a little bit of a problem for me, but it pales in comparison to the other issues that I have with the film, which will be discussed.
Well, very cool. I think we mentioned quite possibly in the final chapter discussion that for me there's like three main eras for the Friday films. The first four, and for me the fifth film is like its own era, kind of the middle point, and then you've got, for me it's like pretty much ends at 8. So 6, 7, 8 is the third era with like undead.
What? No Jason X? How dare you?
Yeah, I don't really, I'm afraid the New Line Friday films. I mean, Jason X, as we'll get into weeks down the road, we'll get into that weeks down the road. But this film, like you said, I mean, obviously, and I'll agree with this as well. I mean, no, this doesn't feel like the first four films, and for me, I mean, that's kind of something that's not even completely bad. I mean, from what I understand, that the guy who directed this film had former experience
Danny Steinman.
Yeah, I don't know if it was softcore or hardcore porn. Do we know what his history with that was?
I think it was soft. I think it's like pretty softcore kind of stuff. But he does get labeled as being a porn director. And I know Phil Scaderi, who, like I've mentioned in pretty much, I guess, all the previous shows, who's like the unsung hero of the franchise in a lot of ways. He was a fan of Steinman's earlier film, Savage Streets, which I've seen, and so it was pretty much his idea to get him to direct the film and things of that nature. So, have you ever seen Savage Streets at all, Nate?
Who's is that the one with Linda Blair?
Correct. Yeah, Linda Blair and Renee Quigley, I think, is in it as also as well.
Yeah, I did.
I've seen it once. Yeah,
I've seen it once as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember a lot about the film. It was probably like close to 10 years ago I saw it, but I remember thinking it was there. It was okay. It wasn't a terrible film or anything. I don't really see too much of how you get the correlation, like, oh, let's get this guy to do Friday, though. Like, that's kind of weird in a bit of a way. Like, I mean, I don't know, off the top of my head, like, I mean, who else had like really like made like really good slashes, like, I guess, in my opinion, or whatever, like around this time? Like, I don't know, like, who directed Madman? Like, I mean, maybe that guy might have been a good choice for it. I don't know, what year's Madman? Like 82, isn't it?
Yeah, I think 81 or 82. Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe even the guy that did the Mutilator, Buddy Cooper. I reckon he might have done a decent job. But I don't know, man. For me, Steinman's just like clearly the wrong choice for a director of one of these films, man. I just think his overall style and that just doesn't fit into the Friday formula, man. And like, for me, Friday has a particular formula, and even like, I mean, even after this film, the film stretch out, beyond its original formula and that. But I still think those movies still retain, like at least the bare essence of what was originally there. And I mean, this film does to a degree, but it's just I don't know, dude. Like, I mean, like, put it this way. I used to really hate this movie, like really fucking hate it. And like I've gotten to a point where I can mildly tolerate it now, but it's still not a movie that I go out of my way to watch. Like the only time I watch this movie, 9 out of 10 times, is when someone requests to watch it, like someone who's never seen it, or like I watched it with my missus like about a year ago. We did a marathon and we watched them all, and she'd seen nearly every entry in the franchise up until then because I'm just such a huge fan. So we'd had other marathons and stuff, but I would always skip this one and part 9. Jason Goes to Hell. So she'd never seen either one of these films, and I would tell her, like, before we'd sit down and watch them, like, you're gonna find out why I don't watch these 2 entries. I mean, I don't know, man. It's just there's just a lot of things about this movie that just doesn't sit right with me. Just doesn't gel with me, man.
All right. Well, fair enough. I guess maybe for me, I can start, putting in my half of the thing. I mean, as I already mentioned, I had the same thoughts about this film when I initially saw it, and as a 12-year-old, I was like, well, hell with New Beginning. That's not even Jason. It's not even a part of the series. But as I got older and stuff, I don't know if it's possible that our differences on this film in part have to do with just a generational thing, because I mean it's possible there might be that combined with other things as well, just mental just personalities and stuff like that. But over the years I've really grown to really have fun with this film. And it's I guess the way I look at it is it's like the 5th film in this franchise, which at this point it's done so much of the same stuff, and I have no problem with the same stuff. I mean, Final Chapter, the 4th film, is, as we've both stated, our second favorite of the Friday films in the franchise. So it's not that I have a problem with the first 4 films doing kind of the same thing over and over. Quite the opposite. I love it. But at the same time, I've grown to respect the fact that for the 5th entry, that they got this guy, this Danny Steinman, to just take it in this completely bonkers, frickin' just goofy ass direction, where it's almost like a kind of a an early Scream film in a way, where it's like kind of a parody of itself while being a Friday the 13th film at the same time. And I just find that as the years went on and through my 20s and 30s and now, I just find the trashiness, and it's almost like the more I watch it and the older I get, the more I really just love the trashiness of so many of the characters, just the ridiculousness of so many of the scenes, and just I really like the visual style. I don't know if it's the director of photography's style or the Danny Steinman's visual style, but it's almost like a combination of like Stanley Kubrick and Alfred Hitchcock. Like the style is really great, and like the lighting for a lot of the nighttime scenes, and it's just I really like the nighttime lighting, and so much of the film I really like. And for the first time since the second film, Harry Manfredini from the ground up did a completely new score. So there's I don't know if there might be like no cues from the previous four films in the score for this. I want to say that it's very possible that every bit of music that Harry, that can be found in the score for this film is brand new music that he did for this film, and that's really strange to me that they did that this far into the game. You'd think they'd do the same thing where they just would recycle music from the first four films and have them do a new music for the end or something. But it's really strange to me that, and I appreciate it, that they had them do a new score for the ground up, be kind of knowing.
I think I got the answer for that.
Okay, well, I guess I've blabbed on for long enough.
Two words: new beginning.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think I was heading in that direction.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
But absolutely, and it's funny because that one tune that I opened the discussion with, that which I kind of dubbed the Pinehurst theme.
I will say you do that pretty well, man.
Oh well, I appreciate that, but yeah, I dubbed that the Pinehurst theme because it's kind of like when the van first drives in after the opening credits or whatever. It's like, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. The older I get, and the longer this movie is a part of my life, it's almost like I enjoy it more and more. And I guess I've been talking for a little while. If there's anything you have to say to counter my thoughts. Yeah, man, I don't know. I think everything you said sucks.
You're insane. You belong at Pinehurst.
All right.
Nah, dude. Look, like, I can understand that. Okay. And when you say it's a generational thing, I don't think it's that, dude, because, like, don't forget, man, I saw all these films close together, and I was really young at the time when I saw them all. I think it's just a matter of just how we both look at things a little differently at times, though. But it's kind of strange, man, because we link up so well with some of the other entries, you know what I mean? Like, we both, like, love and adore, like, 1, 2, 4, and we both enjoy, like, part 3, I would say, pretty much on the same level, So, I mean, it's interesting from that standpoint alone. And I think, like, regarding Harry, I think he did a whole new score. Like, well, I don't know if it was his idea or they mandated it or whatnot, but I think, like, pretty much, like, from, like, just what I can gather is it's almost like a completely, like, new story in some ways, apart from, Tommy being the one holdover from, I guess, the original incarnation of the story, dude. And, I mean, I think it would be fun to talk a little bit about, like what other avenues they could have explored, like, with this movie, man. Like, I mean, it's no secret that at the end of the fourth film, man, like, there's the hint that, like, maybe Tommy is going to become the next Jason, and, like, how Tommy even has, like, that very short, like, syllable name, like Jason and stuff has. Like, I could see Tommy, like, being, like, the name of, like, a horror icon.
Absolutely. I can't remember if we talked about this or not, but the obviously the final chapter set up the fifth film as being something where Tommy is quite possibly, after having killed Jason, Tommy is almost set up as replacing Jason at the end of a final chapter. In your opinion, would you have rather seen that than what they did in the fifth film?
I don't know. I really don't. It's hard to say. I mean, what kind of a film would that have been, man? I don't know, man. Like, whether it would have been better or not. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, whenever this franchise strays away from anything that doesn't focus, like, with either Pam or Jason, like, as like, the main antagonist, if you will. It just doesn't work for me, dude. Like, case in point, it's going to be a while before we get to it, but Jason Goes to Hell, man. I mean, like, Jason's barely in that movie either. You know what I mean? And that's going to also, like, try to, guess that in a way kind of adds a little bit of fuel to the fire of like, people could throw at me, oh, you just don't like it because it's not Jason. Like, I'm not denying that is a part of it, but it's still, it's still just a very small part in some ways of why, man. And I mean, like, over the years, like, especially, since the advent of the internet and YouTube and things like that, like, I've discovered that, this film actually does have, a bit of a fan base, man, because, like, everyone I practically knew that had seen the film, that was a fan of the franchise, like, when I was a kid, like, right through the 90s and the early 2000s, everybody, like, reviled it. I never met one person that was like, yeah, it's a good film. Everybody didn't like it, man. So it was a bit of a shock, man, like, once, that I started discovering people that they're really into the film. Like, I'm not going to name names, but there's one guy on YouTube that I am a fan of, man. Like, I like watching his channel and stuff, and it's actually probably his favorite entry in the franchise. And he actually recently did a video, like, of his top 20 slashes of all time, and this was, like, in the top, like, 8 spot, like, in the top 10. And, like, to me, that's crazy. Like, when I think about all the other slashes that are out there.
Yeah, that's definitely understandable. I would imagine we covered this in the final chapter discussion, but I can't remember, obviously, if we didn't mention it, or even if we did. Final chapter begins what, many people, and I included, regard as kind of the Tommy Jarvis trilogy, and this is the middle film in the Tommy Jarvis trilogy. And obviously the movie takes on the premise. It seems the way the movie goes, it seems to follow the premise that was set up at the end of final chapter, with Tommy now being, momless, and I don't know why he can't go to Dad. Dad wasn't killed by Jason in final chapter, but maybe Dad went to Mexico. Who the hell knows? But Tommy being sent to this halfway house with gorgeous, young, busty, in some cases busty, in some cases not so busty chicks and stuff like that, and model males and stuff. It's so funny, this halfway house is full of just gorgeous people in a lot of cases, but
Everyone's beautiful.
everyone's beautiful and troubled, but I guess a little predictive programming for what the future would bring. But not that everyone's beautiful these days. I mean, certain women now, the trend is to look as shitty as possible. But anyway, I digress. Where the fuck was I? Oh, okay. So, okay, yeah. So, anyway, the film, final, or New Beginning rather, does, basically, start and do the go through the motions the whole film of continuing what was set up at the end of final chapter by basically painting Tommy as the prime suspect. He's just very quiet and very this and that, and has nightmares about Jason. And I guess the movie kind of it tries to do a trickaroo on the audience by having painting Tommy as pretty much prime suspect, in the way that the fourth film ended. Yeah, it's pretty much Tommy. I guess to the movie's credit, it was trying to do this kind of trickery thing where we make you think Tommy's doing it the whole time, only to have someone who you'd never expect to be the killer.
Yeah, I don't think that part of the movie works at all, man. Like, I never suspected Tommy, even for a minute, man, like, as being the killer. It just, I don't know, it's a weird element to the film that I just don't think really works too well, like, as hard as they want it to. I mean, that's interesting, man. I actually don't think I've ever thought about that. Hey, like, where the heck did Tommy's dad go to? Like, why couldn't he go to his dad? And where's Trish? Like, the only mention of Trish is that one picture that he has of her, which is clearly, a picture from, like, the set, dude, of the final chapter. I love that in like sequels and movies and stuff, dude, where they got, like, some stock image like that's clearly from the previous movie, and it's like it's so obvious. But yeah, I mean, what's funny about the halfway house, the Pinehurst house, like, I mean, nothing that bad even has to be wrong with you for you to end up there. It's like, oh, you have a bit of a speech impediment. Yeah, you belong here.
Yeah, you've got world-class natural knockers. You better go there.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty funny in that aspect. I just wanted to, keep continuity going. I just wanted to mention, that this film grossed 22 million and cost just over 2 million to make. So I mean, it didn't even make like as much as the final chapter did it. Like I think final chapter made somewhere around, I think was it like 25 to 30, something like that. I think million. I think if I remember correctly, but it's mentioned in the previous show anyway. But I mean, like the thing is with this movie is, it's that entry. Like every every like big franchise, like out of the the big top three is us in the horror community calling the top three franchises: Friday, Halloween, and Nightmare. All three of them have that black sheep entry. Like obviously, I mean, well, arguably you could say Friday has two, it has five, and it has Jason Goes to Hell. You know what I mean? But then in Elm Street, part two is usually considered to be the black sheep of that series. Although I'll argue five, I would say is the worst entry in that franchise. And then of course Halloween has Halloween 3. So I mean, all three of those franchises have at least one of those black sheep entries in them.
Yeah, that's very true. I'd like to get your take on the opening scene. I don't know so the fact that you have before I get there, let me just ask this question: the fact that you have an overall disdain for this film, does that mean like you pretty much can't enjoy like any of it, or I'm just trying to understand your point of view?
There are little things here and there that I appreciate about the movie that I will discuss as the movie goes, as the discussion goes on. But I don't know, man. Like, I mean, I've tried, man. I mean, I've seen this film probably about 4 times in about the last decade, and I mean, the best it's like grown on me is it's gone from like I've hated it to like I can tolerate it, and I mean, like, look, folks, like I don't ever go into a movie wanting to hate it. I mean, I know there's a certain stereotype of people that kind of do that, and you can tell they do that. But I don't know. This is just one entry that, like, I mean, I've often thought, like if it wasn't a Friday movie, I would maybe feel a bit differently about it. It's like how people say that about Halloween 3. Like, if that was just Season of the Witch and it wasn't, officially a Halloween film, then it would, probably have an even bigger following. I mean, even if this was some random killer, like, I still don't think, it is a random killer when you think about it. But, if it didn't have the Friday attachment, I would probably feel a little bit differently about it, but I still don't think that I would love it. I think, I'll get more into that later, but like as you were asking, the opening scene, I would say the opening scene is a plus, man. I really don't have much of a problem with the opening scene. It's pretty well done. I like the effect of the rain and the lightning is like Jason's walking up to Tommy and things of that nature. And I'm sure you're aware of this, but like some of those shots of Tommy walking through the woods was actually a very small little lady instead of Tommy, because I only had Corey Feldman for like one day, dude. They only had him for one day because right when they were making this, he was doing Goonies as well. So he's working like 6 or 7 days a week on Goonies, and he had like a free afternoon. And I think like it was even shot like in his neighbor's backyard. I think like they just like set up some like more like fake trees or whatever like around that area, and they just shot it there. And like Feldman doesn't even really have much of a recollection of even shooting it and stuff, because he was just so busy at the time doing Goonies. And like I guess Goonies is like the main reason why they had to end up shifting the focus away from him being the lead in this movie.
Yeah, that's a bummer. But before we move on, I did want to mention my, how much I actually really, really love the opening scene, and just how it's so, obviously one of the things that I appreciate about this film, being just a huge fan of the rain in these films, is this movie, it doesn't skimp on the rain. We start in the rain with a really cool scene, and we end in the rain. But I've always loved the opening scene of this film, and the two just random youngsters going to just for a kick in the middle of that middle of a rainstorm at night. Let's just go dig up Jason Voorhees' body. And I just love the way it's kind of like, the production designer made it like someone, there wasn't a lot of money or effort put into the burying of Jason. It's just some kind of half-ass, grave. I think one would say it's like a wooden grave thing with just like written in chalk, like Jason Voorhees, and just kind of not even a coffin, just a wooden thing or whatever. And yeah, I just think the opening scene is just so great. And you very quickly realize that this is not a movie to be taken seriously. When I can't imagine what people thought in the theater when, after they dig him up and open, pull off the top of the makeshift wooden coffin, and he just like a machete, just like he was buried with a machete and an ice pick. It just, people were probably already kind of going, what's going on here? But I love it, and I love that. I mean, obviously it's a nightmare. It's not, really happening anyway. But I love the absurdity of Jason being buried with a machete in one hand and an ice pick in the other, just in case two people happen to come along and dig him up. But the whole aspect of, just they put as many like worms and slimy things hanging out of the hockey mask as possible. And even the fact that he was buried with the hockey mask, once again, it's Tommy's nightmare, so it doesn't have to make sense. But it's just, I just love the openings just so much. And honestly, I think it's really interesting how it's like the only time in the franchise where the hockey mask has got a really cool thing. And honestly, it's such a shame, because I think you'd probably agree as well that that the Jason, looks so much cooler in this opening scene than the imposter Jason does in the rest of the movie. And would you be well, I guess that the question really doesn't make sense, because I don't know. I guess it doesn't make sense, but it is a bummer that the Jason that's featured in the opening scene isn't the Jason that's featured throughout the movie. But before I stop blabbing, I just wanted to mention that really cool aspect that it's like a one and done, a first time and a last time so far for the franchise, where the hockey mask actually has like the straps connected to the mask underneath on the back side of the mask versus the front side. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I have, and I actually think it's a decent touch. Going on what you were saying about like his grave like looking all janky and stuff, like I don't think the local government or whatever would want to flip the bill, like for like a proper headstone for a mass murder or so. I guess you can kind of explain it that way, I guess. But one thing about the opening is it's a bit of more of a different take on like how Part 6 opens. You know what I mean? Like Part 6 has a very similar opening, except it's not a nightmare, and instead of like two randos digging up Jason's grave, it's Tommy and his buddy. So I guess Tom McLaughlin probably liked the idea of how this movie opened, maybe, and maybe that's why he wrote a similar opening into the next movie. But I think it's a decent opening to the movie. And like what you were saying about like this being like almost a spoof of the franchise in itself. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Like, it definitely does have a tone where it's like, don't take this too seriously. Like, especially with like even how like a lot of the roles are portrayed by the actors themselves.
Yeah, absolutely, and I guess, like I say, that's one of the things I've come to really love about this movie. It's just so goofy, and a lot of the characters are just so trashy and or whatever. It's just, I don't know. It's just the whatever you want to call it, black humor of this film is I've just really grown to love. So
Don't get me wrong, like even films that I don't hold in really, really high regard, there usually is still something I can get out of the film where it's like, oh yeah, that was a nice moment here or there. So there is a few things like that in this film that I'll mention from time to time. But I think we mentioned it like when we did the final chapter discussion that it is kind of cool the opening of this where you get the giant hockey mask and things like that, and how I remember you mentioning how they must have built like a 5-foot hockey mask to even achieve that, which that's pretty cool. I wonder what happened to that prop.
I know it's just such a shame to think that so many of these things are probably just thrown in the dumpster after they filmed it. I just cringed at the thought of that. I mean, it doesn't mean it necessarily happened, but we know that in a lot of instances, a lot of that probably does happen, and it's just a shame.
It really is. It really is, man. Like, Hollywood's full of things like that, and it's said, that Hollywood really doesn't care about its past so much. I think only in the last few years, like there's like an official like Hollywood museum now where they store a lot of these old props and things like that, which is cool that someone's finally doing that. But I'll get to another like really big issue that I have with this movie. Is it John Shepard? Yeah, the guy that plays Tommy. It's just he just doesn't work for me, man. Like, I don't know if I can blame it all on him, but like the guy has like 10 lines of dialogue in the whole movie, and like I know that's like what they're going for, that he's so disturbed because of what happened to him and his family in the last film, but I just your main protagonist just I think has to be like a bit more lively than he is in this film. I don't know. I can't think of another film really off the top of my head where the main character is just so dour in a way,
Halloween 2 comes to mind.
Halloween 2. Oh, well, you're talking about the fact that, Laurie's really not in the movie all that much. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, and when she is, she's asleep.
Yeah, that's true. But when she is awake, though, she's not just sort of staring into space. She does have some lines of dialogue, but I can definitely see that that correlation. But I'll play devil's advocate and I'll say that Jamie Lee Curtis, even when she doesn't have a lot of dialogue or screen time, that I just think she's a more likable and a more talented actor than this guy is.
Yeah, well, that's understandable. You'd rather see Jamie Lee Curtis asleep than John Shepard being silent and looking in a mirror.
Yeah, there's a kind of interesting story on how he got this role. Like when he went and auditioned for Danny Simon, he kind of just did this character, just was like really quiet, and he started sweating and stuff, like found a way to like make himself sweat, like in when they were doing the audition, which that's kind of impressive in a way. But I don't know, I've never seen this guy in anything else, man. I don't even know if he had much of a career before or after this. I do know I'm not sure if it was when he made this film or not long after this film, he actually became like pretty religious and stuff. And I think that was the main reason why he didn't come back for 6, because originally they wanted him to come back for 6.
Yeah, you know, I was gonna say something, but I self-censored. But yeah, I'm aware that.
Can't say it. You got to say it.
Okay, well,
Give the audience what they want.
okay, well, I was gonna say, yeah, religion fucks up everything, doesn't it? But
It can from a certain point of view, I guess. Yeah. I mean, guess it is what it is. You can't tell people what to believe in, you know. But I mean, yeah. But sorry, you go.
yeah, from what I understand, yeah, you know, whatchamacallit, John Shepard, and also the oh shit, this is going to be difficult for you to discuss the character of Pam when you're so used to calling Mrs. Voorhees Pam, but I can't, I don't know how to, Melanie Kinnaman or something like that.
Kinnaman?
Yeah, we can call her Melanie and John, and I think even possibly Shavar Ross were all supposed to maybe come back for 6. And honestly, that would have been kind of cool to see. Maybe not so much John Shepard, but you know, Shavar Ross and Melanie come back would have been fun.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, that was kind of like a group thing. They were all supposed to come back, and then when he dropped out. There's an interview with Melanie Kinnaman on Crystal Lake Memories where the producers pretty much told her, well, you know, there's not much point in us having you and, what's the little black kid's name again?
Shavar Ross.
Yeah, there's no much point in, like, having you both in it if, we're going to have a different actor play Tommy. But yeah.
I guess now that we're probably kind of.
What's your thoughts on John Shepard?
Yeah, honestly, I guess the way I look at it is, you know, even though he's kind of more or less the main character, if you will, I mean, he's definitely, you know, the way I look at it when I watch this film as a fan of this film and getting a kick out of watching New Beginning, I guess the way I look at it is, I mean, I just overlook it. It's like, okay, well, you know, this is Tommy, and the filmmakers were trying to, you know, insinuate that because of his, you know, quietness and antisocialness and all of his awkward behavior, that they're trying to make him the suspect, the main suspect of, you know, he's the one doing the killings. I mean, you know, I don't watch the film for John Shepard. I just watch it for the goofy characters and the fun, you know, the brand new Harry Manfredini score and, you know, the tits. Did I mention the tits also? So I guess I don't watch it for John Shepard. For me, I guess I don't know. I guess I've just surrendered to this film.
But he is the main thrust of he's supposed to be the main character though, right?
Yeah, I understand that.
It's sort of a film without a main character.
I've just surrendered to this film over the decades, and I just go with it, and I love what it has to offer. And I guess one could call it like a unique. They could try to talk their way out of the film's incompetence by calling it a unique, you know, very seldom done decision by having the main character be the least main character of all the characters in the film, and be the most boring. But again, you know, I keep coming back to that thing that they were trying to.
Well, you hit on the main word. That's what I was going to say next. Like, I find him boring. Like, you know, I mean, there's nothing to him really.
Yeah, but
I mean, yeah, I can respect your opinion. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, that's what most people say when people talk about how much they, you know, the people that do really like this film, they always talk about, you know, Demon or Shavar Ross and those sort of characters. They rarely mention you know, Tommy, which is interesting.
But I mean, there's boring people to be found in the world, and I just think, well, I mean, this is just.
Yeah, but I don't want to see them starring in a movie though. you know, that's like, yeah, I guess where I'm coming from with it.
Okay.
But I totally get what you're saying.
Well, that's why you don't watch it, because you don't want to see it, which is understandable.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like it I think even like not to preview my thoughts or go too much into part six while we're doing this film, but I think even McLaughlin, like that was his thoughts and probably like what his mandate was like just forget about five. It was a bad dream or whatever, dude. And I mean, to me, part six is the true part five. I mean, I think you can go from 4 to 6 and like you don't feel like you're missing anything. Like, would you at least agree with that? Like, you can go from final chapter to part 6 and not feel like you've missed part of the story somewhere along the way.
Oh, absolutely. And, I think I can remember, I think, actually doing that as a teenager or yeah, I mean, absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm. Yeah, I mean this movie it is definitely full of interesting characters to say the least in a way. Let's get your take on what we're talking about characters. Let's get your take on Ethel and Junior.
Yeah, I mean, once again, I mean, they're every time their characters come up, I just have a ball with it. When I first would have saw this as a 12-year-old and 13-year-old, I probably, they probably annoyed me, but for some reason as I get older, it's like those kind of characters, I just have fun with them when they pop up. And it's over the top. And well, I mean, that's what, this film just has its own personality out of all the films from the franchise, and it's just over the top and kind of disgusting and just male chauvinistic in a lot of ways, and I just eat it up.
Yeah, fair enough. For me, I can't stand them. I've never liked them, and to this, like every time I see them on screen, I just want Roy to swing that machete like right then and there. Like they're like two of the biggest issues I have with the film, man. Like they just annoy the absolute living crap out of me. Just that whiny voice that the woman who plays Ethel has, it just unnerves me, dude. It really does. Yeah, not to say that I don't have some affinity for some of the characters in the film, but those two just they really piss me off. And I mean, it's one moment in the film where when they get killed, where I actually I'm like, oh cool, yeah, I'll cheer a bit because they got killed. But I mean, I guess that's kind of what they were going for, though. Like, yeah, that they are. I mean, you can't tell me they're not supposed to be annoying. So I mean, I guess there's that. I mean, I don't mind the character of Reggie. I think he's kind of a fun character, I guess, in a way. He's this movie's Tommy. I don't mind the scene where he's introduced, where he scares Tommy with the spider. And he's like, "You scared of spiders? You scared of spiders on strings? You're one scared cat. Where I come from, yeah, you learn to be scared of nothing. They call me Reggie the Reckless." And then I love how Tommy just puts on his mask and scares the fuck out of him. He's like, "Whoa, man!" Like that's a good moment. It could be like my favorite scene in the movie, like because of a multitude of reasons. Even I would say it's probably the best acting that John Shepard does in the movie. Like just that little sly smirk that he does after he scared the shit out of the kid, I think is fun, And I mean that's one element. Yeah, again, not to preview too much of part 6, but that was the one element in part 6 that was criminal. That it was not a part of the Tommy character, was that he was a mask maker and things, man. Like they carried that over in this film, but in part 6, it's not even mentioned, man. Like you're telling me they couldn't have had like that, say that moment where he's going through like those books and stuff that he's picked up, like like you telling me like he can't reach in the back seat and like he just picks up like that, one of his masks and like just look at it for a second and like just kind of smile and like just throw it in the back again, like something like that to acknowledge that that's what he was into, like that that's one of the things about one aspect about his character in part six that never sat well with me. They kind of just divorced that, which is weird in a way because like Tom McLaughlin like is like a huge fan, man, of like gothic horror and things like that. So you would think like he would have thrown something like that in the movie.
Yeah, that is really strange. Not to mention the fact that Tommy doesn't seem to need glasses anymore in part six as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, maybe he found someone that was doing laser corrective surgery that was doing it back then, or don't forget, like by the time if you follow the timeline, what timeline there is in these movies, and around this time is where it really starts to unravel. Is like, I mean, by the time you get to part six, I mean, you could argue that it's like what, like the late '90s by that point at least. So
Oh,
maybe he had corrective surgery.
oh, there you go. That's a good point. But I was actually, doing a little smiling over here when you were actually describing that scene, and kind of the first time I actually heard you really kind of talk about a scene that you enjoyed, and it's actually true. I was sitting here thinking while you were talking, and it's like, yeah, this is that scene where Shavar, or Reggie scares him, and then Tommy scares him back. It's like probably the only scene in the film where Tommy is has a chance to be Tommy. And obviously, being a fan of the fourth film, it's cool to see the kind of those masks reappear and stuff like that. And it's yeah, I guess the way you kind of talked about it made me appreciate it, and understand, appreciate it a little more. Like, yeah, it is like one of the only scenes where, the only scene where Tommy is kind of the most Tommy that we ever get in this film.
Yeah, that's true. And like I said, man, like I'm not opposed to finding moments in films that I like, man. Even if it's a film that not overall I'm not that big on, man. Like, I mean, even take like a really reviled film like Halloween Resurrection. Like, I really don't like a lot of that film, but the opening 10 minutes where Michael goes into the hospital after Laurie, like, I don't mind that scene, to be honest, man. Like, it's not perfect, but I can watch that and have fun with it. I mean, but after that scene is where I switch the movie off.
Yeah, well, that's definitely understandable.
Yeah, not long after that scene follows, and you get like the main scene where most of the characters are introduced and stuff, like Ethel and Junior and stuff, and Debbie Sue Voorhees, and I guess this is as good a time as any. I'm suspecting we're going to have the same answer on this one. It's most vulnerable for you in this movie, Nate. I mean, should we say it at the same time? 3, 2, 1. Debbie Sue
Debbie
Voorhees.
Sue Voorhees.
I mean, come on, with a rack like that, who wouldn't want to burn her, mate?
Yeah, honestly,
She's a cute girl too. I reckon. I've always thought she was cute.
yeah, that was. I can remember, seeing this at a buddy's. It was like Halloween 1989. I hadn't seen the movie since the spring, and he had it on, and I think he fast forwarded to this one scene on purpose. But I can remember going, God, I don't, because at that time I wasn't a big fan of New Beginning, and I'm like, wow, maybe I should be more easy on this film because that's a great scene.
I mean, that's the main reason why Simon cast her, man, because she just had such great knockers, man. I mean, like I told you, I always forget her name, but the chick that ended up being in part 6, the camper van with Court, and she's on the that Sexercise video in part 4. She auditioned for that role, but she didn't get it because number one, like, they never talked to her agent about doing nudity, although she claims she doesn't mind doing it as long as, like, you discuss it with her agent. And that end, he didn't think she was big enough on top.
Yeah, it always makes you wonder, like what actresses, how they I guess obviously it's going to vary from woman to woman, but how they feel about that. I mean, I guess being cast for those two reasons, I guess some take it as well. It's a strength that I've got, so I'm going to use my strength, and probably some resent it or whatever. And I guess she probably was probably more on the other side, where it's kind of like, well, it's one of my attributes, so we'll make use out of it or whatever.
Yeah, well, she was a Playboy bunny first anyway, or Playmate or whatever. So it wasn't like she was new to being, I guess, admired for her attributes, I guess, But yeah, man, I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but like a few months back, she actually made I guess you'd call it a Friday the 13th fan film, although it kind of is and it isn't in the same instance. It's called 13th Fanboy. Have you heard that? Heard of that?
I've heard of something that she was a part of, but I never seeked it out or got anything like that.
Yeah, I believe she directed it in that. Yeah, it's on YouTube for free. I watched it a few months ago. It was okay. Wasn't anything special. It was mainly about like a copycat killer who likes a big fan of the franchise and stuff, and goes after her. And like the biggest thing I got out of it, like, it was getting to see some of the alumni come back and like play themselves. It was a bit of a Wes Craven's New Nightmare kind of situation in a way, I guess, where the actors come back and play themselves. It was okay for what it was, but yeah, man. So I know that she's pretty proud of her involvement with the movie and that. And I actually used to be on a Facebook forum that she was actually a part of, and actually I'll share. This is kind of a bit of an awkward little story, but I remember one time I was on there and some of us were talking about this movie and stuff, and a bunch of us were talking about how nice it was to see her tits and stuff. And like one guy comes on and he's like, "Oh, you guys do know, right, that like she's a part of this page, right?" And I actually didn't know that at the time. So I just immediately, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to shut up now. And that, like, I don't know if she ever saw it, but yeah.
Well, wow, that's kind of fun. Honestly, I don't think she'd mind. She'd probably get a chuckle out of it, I would like to think.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Like, she's pretty easygoing person from what I've gathered and stuff. And I've heard nothing but positive experiences with fans that have met her at cons and stuff. But moving on a little bit. I actually enjoy the next scene quite a bit, man, with Joey and Vic, dude. Like, with Joey's just annoying the fuck out of this guy who's obviously unhinged, and he is doing everything he can to hold it together, and like, just Joey just won't leave him alone, like trying to offer him the chocolate bar and shit. And I find that a pretty amusing scene, and it is kind of shocking a little bit, like when he actually starts to hack Joey up.
Yeah, I think it's so funny how we at this halfway house for disturbed youth or whatever, it's the honor system. So if they want to chop madly with an axe at a piece of wood all day, we let them do so what's that? Unsupervised. There you go.
It's sort of like Donald Pleasance's look on like how to handle the mentally disturbed people in Alone in the Dark. Just like kind of let them do it, whatever they want. You ever seen that film?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, you should check that one out, man. That's a bit of a favorite. I might have enjoyed that one since I was a kid, man. Bit of a star-studded cast for a slasher, man. You got Donald Pleasance, Jack Palance, and Martin Landau, man, is also in it. and I don't know if you're familiar with the Wanderers, but like the leader of the big guy who's the leader of the Baldies gang in it. He's one of the crazies in it too, man. It's a fun little slasher, man. I'm surprised you haven't seen that one actually.
Yeah, it's hard to see everything.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, Screen Factory about 6 months ago came out with a release for it. I need to get that at some point. But yeah, what's your thoughts on the scene with the Vic and stuff like that? Yeah. Have you ever thought of that? Like, this guy's just doing everything he can to like focus on chopping the wood, and he's just trying to hold it together. That moment where he stops, he's like, "Leave me alone." He's like looking at him like, "Just leave me alone, please. I don't want to kill you." Like, you ever like really like dwelled on that or found it humorous or anything?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's just one of the many scenes of this film that I just laugh at and have a ball with. It's we've always kind of me and a buddy always kind of compared Joey to Franklin in the original Chainsaw Massacre film in a lot of ways. Kind of the same kind of annoying character in a lot of ways. I want to say the actor's name is Dominique Brasca. I don't think he's no longer with us, but he definitely did a good job as being an annoying character. The unbeknownst to all of us at the time, the I guess abandoned son of Roy, the paramedic ambulance worker driver worker.
Yeah, I don't want to go too. Oh, yeah, I definitely see the how you get that. How he's a bit like Franklin from Chainsaw. Although I would say as annoying as Franklin can be can be in Chainsaw, I kind of have a bit of fun with that character, man. Like, I love taking that character off, man. Come on, Franklin, it's gonna be a wonderful trip. Like, just like, he's got to be like one of the most hated characters in horror history, I'd say. But yeah, the guy that plays Joey, I can't remember. You just mentioned his name, but I'm bad at remembering names. But what was his name again?
Dominique Brasca, I want to say
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
yeah. That's it. Yeah, pretty sure you're right on that.
Dominic, I think I said Dominique. Dominic.
Yeah, are you that familiar at all, like, with this actor's history?
No, but I think within like the past year or something, we saw him in an episode of Knight Rider. I think that's about the only other thing I've seen him in.
Okay, Knight Rider. Yeah, that's a show I've always been curious about, but never really seen it. I think when we did part three, I think I mentioned, man, there's an episode of Knight Rider apparently where Kit the car comes out of the barn from Friday 3. So there's a little connection there. But yeah, I'm not going to go too much into it, but I'll just mention briefly, like, allegedly, yeah, this actor is the one that molested young Corey Haim, like, apparently.
Oh, okay, that's the word around the campfire, huh?
Yeah, yeah, it came out in that doco that Corey Feldman did not too long ago. But yeah, but the guy that plays Vic, what about him? Are you familiar with him from any other movies?
Not that I'm aware of. Who'd he molest?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Well, mate. Well, no, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to go. I'm not. Even that's the one bit of humor I find it very hard to go with, is like molestation, friggin' humor. I mean, my mate Daniel, he'll do it like unabashedly, but I don't know. Every time I try to do it, I just think like, yeah, people are gonna think I'm some weird creep. But I mean, they probably already think that, you know. But anyways, but nah, dude, he's actually in another favorite horror film of mine, man, Return of the Living Dead. He's the head punk in that film, dude. Suicide.
Oh, okay. So the Vic character?
Yeah, the Vic character. Yeah, you're not that familiar with Return of the Living Dead?
No, well, not crazy familiar, but I've seen it a couple times, so I'm sure I've seen him in there. I'm surprised that I didn't recognize him or forgot that it was him, but okay.
Well, he looks a bit different. In that movie, he's all, his hair spiky and that he's all punked out and stuff. He's got like a chain coming from his, going from his like ear to his nose and things like that. He's pretty much the first one of them to die. He's the one that gets killed by the tar man in the basement of the Nita building and stuff. But yeah, he's in that, and he's also in another horror film that I'm a pretty big fan of called Mikey from like the early '90s. It's like a killer kid film, sort of like a more, I guess, full-on version of like the Good Son or something like that. I love my killer kid movies. He's got a small role in that as a cop, but I think sometime in the mid '90s or so, he poor devil succumbed to cancer, some form of cancer. I think leukemia he had or something like that.
Yeah, God damn it! It's interesting that Vic and Joey are no longer with us.
Yeah, I actually never thought about that, but yeah, you're right, man. The guy who's whatever he's supposed to be, like the head doctor here or whatever, he's also in something else. The only other thing I've ever seen him in, he's in the beginning of the Last Crusade, man. Indiana Jones. He's the one that gives young River Phoenix's Indy his hat. He like explains how Indiana Jones got his hat.
Oh yeah, you mean the guy who runs the halfway house?
Yeah, him, yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of that I've seen him in as well.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't mind like the dude that plays the other paramedic. Roy's, I guess, like paramedic. Well, he's not even really his friend, really, is he? Because I remember, like at the end, the cop says that like Roy didn't even really talk to the other paramedics all that much. But I do love that line though. Come on, Roy, get your hands dirty. I always thought that was a pretty humorous line.
Absolutely, yeah. I love that guy too. Roy's paramedic partner, buddy guy. Well, not buddy, but paramedic partner. Just another sleazeball character in Friday 5 New Beginning. But what the hell was I going to say? Oh, I love the detail about when they take off the sheet off of Joey, how like they got one of his arms chopped off and they just kind of put it on his back. Like I love that. I've always loved that detail. It's like. I guess after he went down, I mean, there's so many chop marks on his back. I mean, it looks like I don't know if Vic was just chopping on him, when he was when he was face down in the dirt or what, and just it's hard to. It's kind of makes it what it looks. Kind of makes you think that that's what happened, and then he just chopped off an arm, and then I guess someone else would have put his arm on his back before they covered him up.
Yeah. The only other thing I've seen that actor in too, the other paramedic, he was in one of my dad's favourite shows from the '70s called Project UFO. He was like one of the main guys in that show.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. What's his name? Is it the guy that plays Roy? Is his name? Is it Dick Wayne or something like that? Isn't it?
Yeah, I think something like that. I possibly, yeah. Forgive us, folks, if we're wrong.
Yeah.
If we're wrong with names, folks, forgive us.
Yeah, well, I mean, you gotta, with me, you gotta give me a pass because this is not one of my favorite entries. So I'm not as versed in, all the actors' names and that as much as I am, the other entries in the franchise. But anywho, yeah, like there's kind of an interesting story that Danny Simon told about when he came into audition that he looked like kind of a bit worse for wear, man. Like he almost was homeless or something. And Danny Simon like recognized him from a lot of shows, TV shows and that he was a fan of from like back in the 60s and stuff, I think. And yeah, like Danny Simon was saying, like, oh, I don't really have that much for you. Like, just got this role as a paramedic in that, and like he pretty much said to him, he's like, I'll take whatever you got. Like, he like the business that fucked him over that much, that he was real willing to take any role in a movie he could get. I guess at that point it was a low point in his career. I guess a lot of actors go through that anyways, but yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. And also, did you know that Danny Simon also has passed on as well?
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but it's kind of amazing how a lot of the folks that are involved in these films, a lot of them are still kicking, man. Like only a lot of the time, it's usually like the people who were like middle aged or older at the time of filming them that are gone. In a lot of instances, like obviously Betsy Palmer's gone, and Walt Gorney, who played Ralph, obviously, and stuff. But I mean, they were both middle aged by the time they even made the film. So I mean, when it's 40 years later, it's sort of to be expected. But a lot of the folks are still around, eh?
Yeah, honestly, it does make you wonder about that one chick. I think their character name is Robin. She was, the three films that I'm aware. I think the only three films I've seen her in was
Yeah,
Psycho.
we've discussed this.
Yeah, Psycho 3 and Slumber Party 2 and Friday 5 New Beginning. Yeah, I wonder whatever happened to her, if she's one of these kind of individuals who did some films in the 80s and then kind of got religious or regrets what she did, or it's kind of a bummer we don't get to hear from her in any interviews or anything like that. Makes you wonder what became of her.
Yeah, I think in all three of those films too, she gets her kid off, and I think all three of them, like in Slumber Party Massacre 2, I think she's naked in that too, isn't she?
Yeah, she's the only toplessness in Slumber Party 2, yeah.
Yeah, and in Psycho 3, she is as well. Yeah, I don't know, man. I've never seen her interviewed. I've never heard of her being at a con. I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe she's passed away. I mean, maybe not, but it could just be. Who knows, man? Maybe she doesn't. Yeah, want to be affiliated. Maybe it's one of those cases where she got religious or whatever, or it could even be like, I mean, believe it or not, man, but like even nowadays, man, there are some of these actors that they're still not aware, man, of like how they have a following for certain movies, like the guy who's the killer in Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. Man, like he was only recently found, like in the last few years and stuff, and he had no idea, like that there were people walking around with him on their T-shirt with the lines "Garbage Day." Like he had no idea, dude. So, I mean, maybe she's not aware. Maybe because I mean, that's the thing we've got to realize as fans, dude. I mean, like we grew up with these things, and we love them and adore them and think about them almost on a daily basis a lot of the time. Whereas for an actor, a lot of the time it's just a job. You do it, you move on to the next thing.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I know there is a small percentage of actors, be it actors or actresses, that worked in movies for a steady period of time for a while, and then just kind of walked away from it. And it's kind of like the Pamela Springsteen of
I knew you were going to bring that up. I was just thinking that. I was just going to bring it up. I'm thinking if he's going to say it, but if he doesn't, I'm going to say it straight after.
Yeah, so there are instances of people who, for whatever reason, walk away from whatever and don't want anything to do with their past, or some of the things they did in their past. It is interesting about Pamela Springsteen, and you think she could have a little more fun with her involvement in those films, but oh well.
Yeah, I mean, funny enough, man, just a couple of days ago, I was watching like a panel, man, where they had a lot of the actors from Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3. and yeah, she was like, obviously one of the main actors they didn't have there. I mean, not everyone from the movies was there, but they had like 3 or 4 different people from both films, and because they didn't have her there, they got Felissa Rose to stand in and like be part of the panel and stuff. Because I mean, yeah, it's no secret to anyone who's in the know that she loves being known for being Angela and whatnot. But yeah, Springsteen's a bit of a strange case, man. Like almost immediately after doing the films, man, she divorced herself from him. Like, I mean, I wondered this for years, man. But like, apparently, like they couldn't get her back. Not to get sidetracked too much, folks. I know we're doing Friday 5, but we'll get back to it in a minute. This is interesting to talk about too. Yeah, like they couldn't even get her back to do like the promotional like side of things, like do the covers and like posters and stuff for those films. That's why you've got that random chick on the cover of like part 2 that has the hockey mask and the Freddy glove and things like that. Like she didn't even want to come back and do that, man. And like I know she went on to become a photographer and things like that. And obviously, she's the boss is sister. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I guess she doesn't have to do cons and things like that to make ends meet. But I mean, those films are so like loved by the horror community, and that it's like she could at least throw them a bone and go and do one con. You know what I mean? And while she's there, like do a couple of interviews. I mean, even Jamie Lee Curtis, did that one convention. You know what I mean? Like back in like 2013 for Halloween fans and stuff. And I mean, she didn't need to do that because, I mean, she's not hurting for $1 either.
Yeah, it is strange, and I never knew that she kind of like divorced herself from it so quickly after. Sounds like after they wrapped the 3rd film, she was pretty much divorced herself from it.
Yeah, pretty much, man. And as far as I can tell, like from Michael A. Simpson, who directed both films, and everyone else, like, I mean, she had a good time on the movies. She didn't have a negative experience from what I can tell. So I don't know, man. It's a bit of a weird one, man. I mean, never give up hope. Maybe one day she might change her mind about it. I mean, it was the same sort of case with Betsy Palmer, man. Betsy Palmer, like, didn't want to be known for Friday for the longest time, man. Like right through the 80s. Right through the 90s. Like, I'm not sure if I mentioned it, like, when we've done any of these Friday discussions, but I think I did mention it on one of the radio shows one time. I did dig up an interview with Betsy Palmer from YouTube at one point. I don't know if it's still up now, but it was an interview with her from, like, probably, like, around the mid-80s. And she, like, was talking about her career and all the movies she's done and stuff, and how she didn't even consider Friday to be like a real movie. Like it was, just some like, like complete utter piece of shit that like doesn't even count, So, and like she eventually, came around to enough to the point where she'd go to cons and stuff. I mean, who knows? Maybe at least at first it was more motivated by, needing the cash at the time and whatnot. But, I mean, like, there's even interviews with her, like, on the Friday documentaries and stuff where she'd, like, be, like, at, like, a food market and stuff, like, in the 80s and stuff. And, fans would come up behind her going, kill her, mommy, kill her. And she just totally ignored the dude. Like, she wouldn't pay any attention to them at all. So, I mean, who knows, man? Maybe one day Springsteen might come around, might take another decade, but maybe she will. I do know, like, there are a lot of these guys who do a lot of the special features and stuff on like all these great releases nowadays, like the stuff that Screen Factory and all that do. Like especially when they did the Screen Factory editions of 2 and 3. Like I know that. She was contacted, man. Like, so there's one guy that actually got a hold of her number and like left a message on her answering machine and everything. And they never heard back from her. And there's like even like there's some videos of her on YouTube because, like I said, nowadays she's a photographer and stuff. And there are people even on those videos that like commented like about her being Angela and how they loved her as Angela, and like she won't reply back. All she'll do is like give the message like a heart, like she'll heart the message. That's it though. But who knows, man? Maybe one day.
Yeah, we can hope.
Yeah, but I guess back to Friday 5. What do you think of the two? What would you call them? Like, I guess they're supposed to be like greaser dudes, Pete and I think the other guy's name's Vinny. They're kind of like. I mean, you did have the chick-in part for the overweight banana eating hitchhiking chick who was like a random character that got killed off without really any development. But I mean, this film really carried on that kind of thought processes of quite a few characters in this that really don't have almost any development and get killed off. But I mean, for what they are, I guess they're kind of fun. Like, I don't mind that that little spiel he goes through that one guy as he's trying to get the car started. Like, better fix this car, motherfucker. The car ain't starting. I'm gonna kick your ass. What you doing out there, Vinny? What's your thoughts on those characters? I guess.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's what you can probably hear the grin on my face. That's what I love about
You
this.
fucked up again, you asshole. Like, I've said that. I will admit, like, I've said that to friends, like, growing up with, like, if a buddy fucked up, I'd be like, you fucked up again, you asshole. And they'd look at me like, what the fuck are you on, man?
Yeah, absolutely. I just love the characters. The worldview of this movie is like every single person is just a self-obsessed, frickin' perverted asshole. And that's one of the things I love about this movie is just like all the characters. It's almost like, it's funny how, if you really think about it, it's almost like this Friday film was made by someone who hated the Friday films, and it's kind of like, okay, you want to see people die. Well, here, let's give you a whole slew of characters that you can't wait to die, and then we'll kill them because each one is so freaking annoying and so much of an asshole and stuff like that you're not gonna be able to wait until they die. I mean, these two are just a riot, and honestly, it does make you wonder if it's a little bit of subtle kind of Nightmare on Elm Street 2 stuff going on, because they either look like they're greasers from the 50s or early 60s, or from heading to or coming from a gay bar.
Yeah, that's actually, I think, pointed out in the Crystal Lake Memories documentary. They asked that guy, like, do you reckon, your character and the other dude, like, do you reckon, they're gay or whatnot? And he's like, who knows, man? Like, if they could have stuck around a bit longer, maybe we would have found out, But, yeah, that's a good point, man. Like, a lot of the characters are very self-obsessed and selfish in a lot of ways and stuff, and it really is the polar opposite to the final chapter in a lot of ways, isn't it? Where, like, with that film, I mean, we discussed that, to the point of ad nauseum in the last film, man, of, like, how just lovable a lot of those characters are, and how when they do die, how it's sad, man. You don't really want to see them go as creative as the kills may be,
Yeah, that's a good point. It's the polar opposite of 4. Like, instead of people you don't want to see die, it's like New Beginning. It's like, kill them already.
Yeah, I mean, I'll even go as far as say, like, all the previous films before 5, not even just 4, but like, 1 and 2 especially as well. Like, a lot of those characters, I mean, I wasn't like, frothing at the mouth, waiting for Kevin Bacon to get that arrow through his chest, Like, I'm sitting there thinking, oh, come on, get him. He's lit that joint. Come on, kill him. Like, I mean, I enjoy a lot of the characters. I mean, part 3, I don't feel much when a lot of the characters in that film die. I mean, we've discussed, the reasons for that. Feel free to go back and re-listen to our thoughts on that again, folks, if you want to know why. But yeah, the guy that plays Reggie's, what is he, like his grandfather, I guess, in this movie? He's in another film. The only other film I've ever seen him in is The Last Starfighter. He's like one of the residents at the trailer park and that. And actually just ordered that off eBay the other day, the Arrow edition of that film. I love that movie. But have you ever seen The Last Starfighter, Nate?
Yeah, I think I can remember that guy being in it. Yeah, I'm not as very familiar with Last Starfighter, but I think I can remember him being in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun little film, and one of the first films to ever implement CGI, and there's a nice little connection. He's this guy's in a film, like a Friday film, and then Last Starfighter was directed by Michael Myers.
Oh, there you go.
Nick Castle.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And there's something else interesting. One of I think it was like the stunt coordinator or something like that. The guy, what's his name? Why am I blanking on his friggin' name? The guy that played Michael Myers in Halloween 2. What's his name?
Dick Warlock.
Yeah, Dick Warlock. Yeah, he was like the stunt coordinator on this, and the guy who plays like the Masked Roy is also the same guy that plays the Masked Jason in this. And there's some pretty interesting interviews with him where he talks about being at conventions and stuff, and like people walking up to him like giving him shit like, oh, you're fake Jason, or that movie didn't even count, and things like that. And then there'll be someone else that'll be like, nah, man, like he did play Jason. Like, remember that one scene where it was the hallucination or the dream? Like he was Jason in that scene. Like you'll get people who will like give him shit, and then like other people that'll give him props and stuff. But he was also Michael Myers as well. I think that guy, and I think he did some of the Michael Myers stuff for Halloween 4, I want to say, as well.
Okay, yeah, I don't know if I've ever been aware of that, but that's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of been swept under the rug, man. It's like it's known, but you kind of got to dig for it. And I was watching something not that long ago where someone like asked him, like, how come that's not well known? And he's like, oh, I don't freaking know. Like, I think he even mentioned like talking about it in some interview for one of the docs, and it never got put into the finished product and stuff. So, but I know like George P. Wilbur was Michael in Halloween 4, folks. But apparently, can't remember his name right now. But yeah, the guy that is Masked Roy and Jason from the Nightmare and hallucination scenes, did some of the Michael antics in Halloween 4.
Very cool.
And the chick who plays Violet in this, she's the daughter of the head nurse in Elm Street 3. The head nurse in Elm Street 3, the one that doesn't believe them and stuff. Yeah, the chick that plays Violet's her real life daughter.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure I knew that. That's cool.
Yeah. But I don't mind the moment, though, where, Violet is setting the table and stuff, and they're saying, you set too many places and that, and Joey's like, you don't set a plate for a dead person. I always thought that was pretty funny.
Oh my God, yeah. I gotta tell you, I just eat this movie up. That's so funny. You don't set a place for a dead person.
There's another moment I'll mention later on that I really enjoy with his character, Joey. But yeah, man, like I said, man, it's not obviously one of my favorite entries, but there are certain things about the film that I do find amusing, and I've got pretty a pretty explosive sense of humor. There's if something's even mildly funnier, I'll usually get a chuckle out of it. I love my humor, so I can appreciate things like that in the film. But I mean, there are some characters who are supposed to be funny, and I like Eflin Jr. Like that, like they're supposed to be, I guess, annoying / funny, but they're just annoying to me. But yeah. But what about the way Tommy just beats the ever loving shit out of the dude who's I guess Debbie Sue Voorhees' character's boyfriend in the movie, man? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean that's I guess more of the evidence they're trying to point to Tommy being the suspect of this film. But honestly, I mean what that guy did was, well, you can understand it because to the guy, to the boyfriend of the Debbie Sue Voorhees character, I mean it's just a mask that he probably thinks he just bought it at a store. He doesn't understand that it's something Tommy made. So it's kind of an interesting scene. We know it's been set up already that Tommy's protective of these masks because not only because he made them, but also because it's probably pretty much the only thing he's got left from, when his childhood, when his better days and stuff. So we understand. I guess, honestly, the more I think about it, it's kind of, I totally understand why he flipped out on the guy because it's one of his last, memories of better times.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, don't get me wrong. I can understand what you're saying, but I don't know, dude, if I would do that, beat the absolute loving shit out of some dude that was mucking around with my mask. I mean, unless he lit it on fire and shit and was laughing. I mean, then it's definitely on Donkey Kong. But I think it's kind of safe to say that his reaction was a bit over the fucking top.
Oh yeah, I don't deny that, but once again, that's what Friday the 13th Part 5 does best, over the top.
Yeah, that's true. But here's a thought, man. I've never really considered. Obviously, when. Well, I don't know. Did they own it or were they renting it? The Jarvis house, man. What become of that? Did Tommy inherit that? You know what I mean? Is Trish living? Is Trish still living there? Probably not because of what happened. But that's an interesting thought, man. What happened to the Jarvis house after this? What's always been your understanding of that? Do you think they own that house or do you think they were renting it?
Oh, yeah. Well, I just assumed that the Jarvises in Final Chapter owned that house. I mean, Mom and Dad and the kids probably lived there until it seems like it was. I can't remember if it was mentioned how long, but they had been separated in Final Chapter. But yeah, to make a long story not as long, I always assumed they just. The mommy Jarvis owned the house in Final Chapter.
I like that little callback because you said that in the last episode, Mummy Jarvis. But yeah, I mean, in that, it's just a fan novelization, but in that they kind of allude that they've kind of rented it, I guess, because they used to live in the city and things like that. But yeah, I guess that considered. I mean, I always kind of went with that. Yeah, they owned it and whatnot, and it's well, how come Tommy never goes back there at all? You know what I mean? But then again, I mean, I guess if, that happened in your family home, I guess you probably wouldn't want to ever go back there again, would you?
Yeah, I think that's a valid point. I mean, you kill a killer in your living room, you're not going to really want to go back, or I can understand someone not wanting to.
Yeah, not to mention that, your mum was murdered there as well. I guess.
Yeah, not a very happy place anymore.
Yeah, but yeah, that scene with that random dude shows up at Ethel's house. And she's like, "Who the fuck are you? And what the fuck do you want?" So bizarre, dude. It's almost like I feel like Ethel and Junior are in their own fucking movie, man. Like they're like, even though like a lot of the other characters are out there too, it's almost like they're in their own movie, dude. You know?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And one thing I was thinking just now when you were mentioning that scene, I can't be, I'm not 100% sure, but it almost seems to me like that scene where that homeless guy shows up to just, he hadn't eaten for days, he wants to earn a meal. It almost seems like that happens, and then a night happens, and then the next day, um, is the scene where he ends up getting the knife in the stomach. So it's kind of like, I'm not 100% sure, but it seems like it's not even the same day, which is kind of goofy. Like, what were you, spending 24 hours or 48 hours, like cleaning out cleaning all the shit out of the chicken coop and dump it behind the shed. So if that is the case, where it's
There's
like
one fucking ugly man that goes over there. There's one ugly man, mother. What the hell are you talking about? You're not so pretty yourself, you know. I know I'm not so pretty myself. Fucking weirdo cunts. Oh, dude.
yeah, but that's so funny. Back in the day when we were teenagers, we used to call it introduce them, kill them. There's so much of that in this film with the two guys in the car, and then the bald guy with the chick at the diner, which we'll probably talk more about, and then just the kind of the random derelict who just wants to earn a meal. Just introduce them to kill them.
Yeah, but like I don't know that. I mean, there probably is, but like off the top of my head, can't think of too many other slashes where they do that. Now they introduce a whole heap of characters and just there's like almost no development at all. They just instantly get killed off. I mean, in Friday 6 there is that one couple that get killed by Jason on the motorbike, like he impales them both with the machete. But as far as I can think of off the top of my head, that's one of the only other slasher films I can think of where and there's that one character in part 4, but I don't know, like I just don't think that to the best of my knowledge it doesn't happen that much. But maybe you can enlighten me a bit on that, on like your views on that then.
Well, I mean, I guess, there's maybe a little more character in the bikers from Friday 3, but you could call the bikers from Friday 3 kind of introduce them, kill them, even though it's not the same scene they die that they're introduced. And definitely that couple in the seventh film that are out in the tent camping. And, so it happens, a decent amount throughout the Friday.
Oh, the tent characters. Yeah, I forgot about them. Yeah, okay. The blocky I would say the blocky characters are, they're not in the film a lot, but I think, like, they're in the film enough where they're kind of really rememberable kind of characters, man. I mean, you really, remember Fox and Loco and Ali and stuff. I mean, I don't know, man. I just never really thought, like, obviously, I guess that's sort of the point of those characters, the blocky characters. But I don't know, just in a weird way, I think they were kind of more established than some of the other characters that kind of just get introduced and knocked off. But I can definitely see your point, man.
Yeah, I think it feels that way because, like, they're introduced in a scene and then, then you see them again later and they die, so it's not as
that's true. Yeah.
It's not as apparent than like having them die in the same scene they're introduced.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's one other thing I wanted to mention, man. I think this film would work a lot better if you like combined some of the characters. Like there wasn't so many characters because there's just so many characters in this movie, man. But I will say this, like, even though I said, that the guy that plays Tommy, he's a boring lead and stuff. One of the worst things, probably the worst, it would be, the worst crime any movie can commit is being boring, right? It's just really boring, like just not holding your attention at all. And the one thing I will say about this film, like for the most part, it certainly isn't boring. Like there's always sort of something going on as random as some of it is. Like, case in point, I guess the scene that follows with the dude, whatever he's supposed to be, like an orderly or whatever, who like dropped Tommy off at the halfway house, and then like he's hanging out with his girlfriend Alana and things like that.
It's showtime.
Yeah, do you know where she got the idea to say that?
I don't know. Was it Johnny Carson? I don't remember.
No, there's I've never seen it, but there's a film with Roy Schreider, dude. Mr. Chief Brody himself. I think from sometime in the 70s. It might have been before Jaws. Where he says that, his character says that all the time. It's showtime.
Oh,
so that's
okay.
where she came up with it, and she told Danny Steinman, and he goes, "I love it." So they put it in the movie.
Well, very cool. Yeah, that orderly guy, the balding orderly guy, is just another one of the Danny Steinman frickin' characters of just like you want to just see him dead. I just love it. It's like, Lana, hey, what the fuck is she doing?
So, let's get your take on that, like growing up and stuff. Like, what was the consensus from other fans that you knew, like your buddies or whatnot? Like, what did they think of this film? Did they hate it or what?
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people I knew. Let's see here. I'm trying to think. There's some of them that weren't even horror fans. So I think, the best way to answer that is, I guess, when we're talking about right after I discovered it, I have this recorded on video from '89 when me and a buddy were sitting in front of a computer doing this kind of little half-assed making a little newsletter kind of reviews on a piece of paper of movies. And, our consensus at the time as 12-year-olds was, New Beginning was an abomination because it wasn't Jason. So we kind of agreed on that. But I guess when I was in my 20s and stuff, me and a buddy, I guess at the same time, we were kind of starting to appreciate it at the same time, almost like I don't know, it was like something we both experienced at the same time. And it happened for us with Halloween 3 as well, where it was something where we didn't really like it in the 80s and the 90s, but when we found ourselves in our mid-20s and beyond, we just appreciated these two films more. So, pretty much agreement from pretty much everyone that I knew that liked horror movies.
Interesting, man. Yeah, I mean, pretty much the polar opposite for me. Like even my mate Daniel, he hasn't even come around to the film even to the level I have, man. Like, he still like viciously just hates it, man. Like probably as much as he hates Jason Goes to Hell as well. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting film to talk about just from that perspective alone, man. Films that are divisive and stuff is it's always an interesting conversation, man. Get everyone's thoughts on it, and that it makes for an interesting discussion, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we don't all have to agree on everything at the end of the day. I mean, if we did, that might not be. Yeah, that would just make things maybe a little more boring.
Oh yeah, totally, man. Yeah, I mean that's definitely the way to go, man. Friggin' if we all agreed, we've both said that on many occasions, man, it would make life pretty boring. But like obviously with this film, right? Like the general plot of it's almost like a remake of the first movie, isn't it? Like it's a very similar story. The kid dies and the parent goes on a rampage, except this time it was instead of the mum, it's the dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's funnily enough, it's something that I didn't even really even occur to me until I think the last couple of years. It might have not even occurred to me until I think maybe it was a commentary from the new Blu-ray set that came out on part five. Maybe is the first time. I think one of the women says that the one of the women of the new commentary for Friday Five might have said it that. Yeah, it is. It's like it's a remake or kind of a switcheroo of the first film, where you've got instead of the first film we don't see the incident except for in flashback of Jason drowning, but this one we see a child dying and the revenge that ensues from the parent afterwards. So I mean, I do think that I never really thought about it in those regards for the longest time, and that actually makes me kind of appreciate it even more. It's just kind of cool in a way.
Yeah, it's something I thought about. Like I want to say, like a good number of years ago. I mean, didn't think of it when I was a kid, but probably a fair while ago, I did come to that realization. But it's an interesting fact that the only flaw with that I really have is like, okay, then how come Roy doesn't go after Vic? Like Vic's the one that killed him. Like, I mean, you could argue that he couldn't get to him, I guess, because he's obviously in police custody. But it's like you'd think he'd be the one person that he'd want to kill more than any of them.
Yeah, just thinking about that right now, how cool would it have been to have Roy? Maybe that's how the movie could have gone out. Well, no, he couldn't have gone out that way. He couldn't have done this after he died. But anyway, at some point, it would have been kind of cool to have Roy, blue chevrons and all, kind of very a la Terminator, bust into the cop place and try to kill Vic would have been kind of interesting.
Yeah, like I know there are fans and stuff that like kind of want a return of Roy and stuff. Like, would you be down for that? Like, we got like I guess the zombie version of Roy or whatever.
Oh gosh, that's a really good question. I don't, as much as I love Friday Five, I don't think I'd really be up for Zombie Roy. I'd be more up for another imposter before Zombie Roy. I think another imposter, I think, would be kind of fun.
Interesting, yeah. Yeah, I don't mind the scene in the police station, man, where like they're talking about like did Jason get cremated and things like that, and like the way the mayor's going off at the sheriff, like, you've been out in the sun too long, like that. Like, I always thought that was a good scene. The only thing that's kind of weird about that scene is like, yeah, that's supposed to be the cop station, I'm guessing. And like, have you ever noticed how freaking small it is, dude?
Yeah.
It's like a shoebox. It's so small, man.
Well, I guess to be fair to the movie's credit, in that very scene, the guy who plays the mayor says, this is a small town, man. So, I mean, I guess small towns have a shoebox police station, but that's a good point. I don't care if you have to put your fucking mother behind bars.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you can kind of tell in that scene, like, the crew was having trouble, like, fitting all the actors and everything, like, in that one space, man. It's it makes me think too that it probably wasn't a set, that it was like a real building, because I mean, they didn't build too many sets for a lot of these films. I mean, they built what I've dubbed the sex house with my buddies from playing the Friday game, but yeah, the sex house with the kids from part 4.
Yeah, that might be one of the only buildings or things that was built for the early years of the franchise.
Although, actually, didn't they? Well, actually, wasn't the Higgins Ranch in 3? Wasn't that built specifically for the movie? I think it was.
Yeah, I guess
I'm
not privy to that information. I guess I don't know.
Pretty sure it was, yeah. But
it's official.
it's official. The way it looks like a real building.
It's official. Jesse says it was built for Friday 3, so it is.
I'd make that a safe bet. I'm pretty damn sure it was. But yeah, like I don't know, that little scene in the cop station, that looks like a real building, just the way it's shot and stuff. It looks like they were struggling to get certain angles and stuff, but yeah, it's a good little scene. But the scene that follows with Debbie Sue Voorhees and her boyfriend, like I just think she's just so adorable in that part where they're having that little exchange at the line, and he wants to go off with her and fool around. She's like, "We can't; they'll kill us." And he's like, "Fuck them," and she's like, "Fuck you, fuck you." And he's like, "Exactly, fuck me." Dude, like, I mean, I remember being like, 8, 9 years old, like seeing that scene, and even at that age, I just being crazy about girls, and thinking, why can't a girl say that to me? Like, I just remember thinking that at the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of us straight males really had fun with that character of what the hell? What the hell's the character name of Debbie Sue? Can we think of
Yeah, I've
it?
been trying to remember, man.
Yeah, oh well, I guess it's just Debbie Sue
It's
Voorhees.
not like Tina or something.
Oh yeah, I
No,
think it is
no.
maybe
I can't.
Tina and Eddie.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you're right. You've jogged my memory. Yep. Yeah, man. I mean, like every straight male has these type of women, but I don't know. I don't know how you could be into women and not find her adorable on some level. I mean, not for me. It's not even just her tits, man. I mean, don't get me wrong. Her tits are great, but I just think she's just adorable, man. Like I love my dark-haired women on top of all that.
Yeah, absolutely. She's got a little bit of that Jennifer Connelly long dark hairness going on.
Yeah, that's another Hollywood star that I've always had a big thing for. I love Jennifer Connelly. But yeah, you're totally right, dude. It is the next day, like where that
Oh,
that
you
what do you
watching
want to
it?
call him, handyman dude. Yeah, it's the next day, dude. So I don't know. Maybe you could argue that I don't know. He done the job and just hung around the area, or maybe Airful gave him something else to do. Who knows?
Yeah, I guess that's true. He could have done a chore and had a meal the day before, and maybe he's just hanging around. That's a good point.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's I guess around that Crystal Lake area. So I mean, what else would he really have to do? I guess quiet little town, but that's the thing. Like we kind of bring it up in most of these discussions, like the geography and stuff. Have you always thought that this was somewhere near like the town or the camp or whatever? Like, there's certainly a lot of different locations around like the Crystal Lake area, I guess.
I think honestly, in regards to the locale that I always kind of assumed this took place in. I mean, by this point, I think I think by this point in this movie, it's like I don't even. I mean, it doesn't. I don't regard it as being like anywhere around Crystal Lake. For me, this is like I said earlier, like it's the first four films are kind of the first era. Five is its own frickin' era. So I mean, for me, it's really it's imposter Jason, and it doesn't really care about the fact that Crystal Lake was ever a part of the franchise. I mean, it's frickin' Halfway House. So I never ever. I don't think at any point really had any notion that this is Crystal or by Crystal Lake. I know that a buddy of mine and I always thought it was funny when the guy's going to, Eddie's going to wash up in the pond. It's just like, Crystal Lake has gone from I mean, I don't think we ever really considered that Crystal Lake, but if you did, that would be pretty laughable how it's gone from frickin' a lake to a pond by the time you get to five. But yeah, I guess that's my answer regarding the locale of New Beginning and whatchamacallit. What the hell is it called? Pinehurst, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could even argue like this could be in like a completely different state almost. Hey, like, um, they're sending Tommy to this halfway house. So
Absolutely. I mean,
I mean,
there's nothing.
would they even have a place like that, like around, like country sort of area, like town.
Absolutely. That's one thing. I mean, that's one thing I guess I'd fault this film for really not mentioning, Crystal Lake or anything like that. But at the same time, when it's going full imposter mode anyway, I guess it doesn't need to. But yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, who the hell knows? I mean, it could be a completely different state at this point. Yeah, I guess it can't be too far away because at the end of the movie, of course, the guy digs up the newspaper clippings with the laughable actual photo of Jason and stuff. So
Oh, I got thoughts about that.
okay,
yeah, that's fair, man. But I will say, I think like the surroundings, like the sort of look of the film, I'd say still looks more like Jersey than Part 3 does. I will say that.
absolutely, and they did a good job with the woodage in this film yet again. And the only thing the only time that kind of they accidentally kind of maybe have too wide of shots or whatever is kind of the beginning when Tommy's being driven into the place. It seems like there's some shots where you can almost see like the California hills in the background, and those orange groves kind of scream California. But other than that, the rest of the movie, they did do a good job, kind of like with Final Chapter, of finding pretty good woodage in California.
Yeah, yeah, that's a very good point. Have you ever noticed that when Eddie gets killed, man, the tree branch gets turned to the left and then gets turned to the right as well, like in the next shot?
I don't think I ever noticed myself.
Bit of a boo-boo there.
I don't think I noticed myself, but I heard that that's a funny blooper. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But regarding the kills in this film, like, do you have a favorite or?
Gosh, there's so freaking many. That's a really good question. And honestly, that's let's face it. I cannot, as much as I love this film. Obviously, one of the bummers about it coming off of a very strong final chapter, and actually, amazingly, I don't know how they got away with that, the gore, so much of the gore that they did in that film. But admittedly, we can.
Well, remember in Part 4, the gore it's pretty fast. Like, even though it's gory, that the way they shot it, that's how they got around that. Joe Zito, because he'd already done the Prowler, I think he was well versed in how to do it quickly and have it be so, like, even though the kills are violent, they're so quickly done and over with that it was really kind of hard to say, well, cut that down. I think that's how they got away with it in Part 4. But yeah.
That's true, and I think obviously anyone can argue the fact that the kills in 5 are horribly, once again, kind of butchered by the ratings board. So I mean, it's more like the implication of the kills more than experiencing the kills. So I mean, there's so many. I mean, I guess it's hard for me to say. I mean, the shears in the eyes and the belt around the eyes, things kind of cool, and the pull through the outhouse and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of scenes that are fun, but I mean, if we're being honest with ourselves, I mean, because of the strong nature of censorship with this film, I mean, the kills, as far as being complete, things that are, and fully enjoyable, is really not really to be had, more or less. It's kind of like almost halfway on the way to a TV edit version.
Yeah, that's pretty much my sentiment. So I'd probably say, like, not just for like the kill itself, but like I reckon it's like a nice bit of tension in the film is Demon's kill. I would say that's my favorite kill. Just like the lead up, like his fear to like what's happening, and that, and just like the whatever that's supposed to be, like that spear instrument. Jammed through his gut. I reckon that's probably my favourite. The road flare kill I don't mind. It's kind of bloodless completely, but kind of an original kill.
Yeah, I forgot about the road flare. That's a fun one. Kind of something you wouldn't expect in a Friday the 13th film.
Yeah. That's one character that I don't mind have some fun with. Demon. And the guy that plays Demon, I can't think of his name right now, but he's also in Return of the Living Dead. Also, man, he's one of the. He's part of the punk group in that as well. So you got a couple of the Return of the Living Dead alumni in this film. And interesting enough, pretty sure that was that actor's first film. He was homeless, I believe, up until he got this role, man.
Oh wow, that's crazy. That's crazy to think because he's really got I think he's really got a charismatic on-screen presence.
Yeah, in this movie, always he always kind of felt a bit like a faux Michael Jackson type in this to me, man. Like he's kind of got that that kind of Jerry Kill, leather, jacket, kind of Michael Jackson kind of vibe about him. I've always thought.
Oh, absolutely. He's
a more risque Michael, I guess.
Well, right. I mean, this is a Danny Steinman movie. Everything's going to be risque, but absolutely, his appearance is completely, whatchamacallit, modeled after the old Michael Jackson.
Yeah, the legendary king of pop, eh? Yeah, but even though he's not in the film very much, I think for a character that only has I guess a couple of scenes, I think he's rememberable. I mean, anyone who's familiar with this film at all, or a lot of people who are fans of it and stuff, you can always catch them saying, "Them damn enchiladas." It's like a running joke at this point.
Yeah, I think everyone listening would probably love to hear both of our renditions. I'll go first of this particular moment in the film. I'll do it first. You obviously don't have to do it if you don't want to, but I'm sure everyone.
I think I know where you're going. I know where you're going with this, and I'm more than happy to play along with it.
Okay, well, allow me to go first, and you're welcome to make a go of it afterwards. Ooh, baby, ooh, baby. Ooh, baby, ooh, baby.
Ooh, baby, ooh, baby, ooh, baby, ooh, baby.
All right.
I knew that's where you were going. It was so obvious. But yeah, it's another, for, like I said, a character that's not in the movie that much, he really does have, some rememberable moments.
Yeah, that's so funny how it's just like they do that romantic thing and then moments later is like, you're gonna get it, bitch.
Yeah.
And it's every time I watch it, it's too bad about that shot of his girlfriend when she's dead on the ground and her neck is pulsating like a motherfucker. They should have probably done a freeze frame of that.
Yeah, I think I noticed that the first time I ever saw the film, eh? But what about the scene where it's around that time where Tommy goes all friggin' Bruce Lee on Junior? You can clearly tell that it's like a stunt fighter and things like that. I always thought that was pretty funny, and I actually don't mind. It is kind of a little bit funny, some of the dialogue that Jenny's got, where he's like, "You one of the loonies from the loony bin," and then he's like, "My mum is gonna chop you up into itty bitty little pieces, my friend. You done with something?" I always thought that was kind of funny, but just the way Tommy looks at him, man, there's no expression on his face. He beats that absolute living fuck out of the guy.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I was going to ask you this earlier, and I just remembered. No, I'm glad I remembered. What's your take on? I don't think I really I don't know if I've got an opinion. What's your take on the relationship between, I want to say the guy who gave Indiana Jones his hat, his character's name I think is Matt in the film, the kind of owner operator of Pinehurst. So do you think that him and Pam are a couple?
I think that's occurred to me at one point or another. It's not something that I've thought about in a long time. It's possible. I mean, they kind of, they're working together and that, and they're obviously friends, but I don't think there's really much that indicates that they're a couple, I guess. But here's something that I've heard fans talk about like recently and stuff that never really occurred to me, but that blue pickup truck that Pam and that drives in this movie, a lot of fans try to say that they reckon that's the same truck that Tommy's getting around in Part 6.
Well, it's not the same truck, but I think it was their attempt, possibly in Part 6, to get a truck that was similar. That's what I'd say about that. I think it was their attempt at trying to do a little continuity from 5 to 6. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard fans try to say it's the exact same truck, and I'm like, no, it's not. Like, because I know the look of the truck in Part 6 well, and I'm like, it's not the same truck. Like, it might be implied that it's supposed to be, but yeah, I've heard some fans like, no, it's the exact same one. I'm like, no.
Yeah, they don't know much about their vehicles, but I want to say that it almost seems to me like the one in Part 6 is greenish more than blue. I don't know 100%.
Well, I think that depends on what print you're watching of Part 6, man, because some prints of Part 6 have that really cool, nice blue kind of tint to the film, like that kind of like almost moonlight tint to the film, which is my preferred look to the film. And then you get, the other kind of prints that are kind of like the more washed out versions of it where I think in those versions the car looks more of a greeny colour, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But the scene where Reggie and Pam get back to the halfway house and like she tells Reggie to go to sleep and that, and you get that like close in shot of like all the actors there together, like the kid that plays Reggie, you can tell he's trying not to laugh. Like there's even an interview where he talks about that, like he was doing his best not to laugh because the camera was like zooming in like so close on them, and he just found it funny.
Oh yeah, that would have been, if memory serves, that's one of those Jaws shots where it's kind of does the zoom out and push in thing or something. Is that correct? Does it do that? I think so.
I believe so, yeah, something like that. But yeah, I just remember him talking about that, yeah, in one of the interviews.
Yeah, I don't think I'm ever.
That actor's actually becoming quite religious too, I believe, then as well.
God dang it, we lost another one.
That's usually the other way around. That's usually what religious people say when someone like loses their faith. That's a good take on it, dude.
Oh shit. Now, obviously, we're to the part everyone's been waiting for, the death of Ethel and Junior. And God, I think the most annoying.
Yay! Woo!
Okay, yeah, I think the most annoying part Junior ever played is in this last scene where he's just screaming at the top of his lungs, riding around in circles in that motorbike. But I gotta tell you, it's sure a great kill. That actually, they managed to do it pretty well. I will say, and I mentioned this before, either on my review or my commentary of this film, that if you've seen the trailer for this film, I think the sound design is much better for this scene in the trailer than it is in the actual film, because when the cleaver comes out from behind the tree, they put this cool metal like shing sound, almost like a sword sound, which is really kind of cool. And having that sound be absent in the final cut of the movie, it's just like that's an instance where the trailer was better than the scene in the movie.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm not as familiar with the trailer for this one as I am, most of the others. But yeah, that's an interesting point. I have always thought though that the prop head of Junior doesn't, even though it's only on screen for like a few frames, it looks pretty bogus. I've always, so I don't reckon it's that convincing. I mean, it's a pretty hard thing to pull off a severed head, but yeah, I don't reckon it does look the best.
Well,
I think that's probably why it is probably so quick in the film. I mean, might have been the ratings board too, but kind of makes sense if you don't have the best prop, I guess.
yeah, that's true. I remember it's kind of being a bummer because on the back of in North America, on the back of the VHS and the Laserdisc, they showed a shot of the cleaver actually in his neck, kind of Tom Savini cut a hole in the cleaver and put it on his neck, kind of a thing. So it must have been just another censored shot or something like that was cut. But on the back of the first home video version in North America, there's a shot of Junior with the cleaver basically, in his neck.
Oh, interesting. Did not know that.
Oh.
But yeah, no, I never heard that before, man. But the scene, that's another scene that I enjoy where I'm blanking on his name. The dude with the stutter. What's his name again?
Oh God, I don't even know if I know his name. What the hell? She goes up into
I
the.
said it. I said
Shit.
it earlier.
Yeah, too many characters.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, audience will figure out who I'm talking about. Yeah, him and I remember the chick's name, Robin. Yeah, they're sitting there and they're watching that movie. And I've always wondered what that movie is. Do you have any idea what that movie is they're watching?
I'm pretty sure in one of the radio shows, someone in the chat let me know, or in comments on videos I made talking about it. The title has been revealed to me, but I always forget it. And I've been making someday I really got to make an effort to see it. It would be fun to see the whole movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing it. I mean, it'd be interesting, yeah. But I always thought that was a cool little scene, man, the way like he's trying to let her know that he's got feelings for her and that, and the way she just blows him off and he's like, I said I didn't mean it. Like I remember my dad pointing that out to me as a kid, like that, how that was so funny and stuff. Like my dad was taking the piss out of it, but I think it's a fun little scene, man, for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of God. Your heart just aches for that character in that moment. It's just like, oh my God, and it is kind of satisfying to see the Robin character kind of instantly regret it, like when she's left alone on the couch there. It's like, maybe I went a little too far there. So that is fun. But then he proceeds to go up, and what's so funny is he goes up to upstairs for some consolation or to be consoled by Vi, and she ain't got no time for anything. That's so freaking funny.
Yeah, she's just so involved with her own robot dance that she doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because I never owned this one myself, but probably online or something like that. I've seen the cover of a Fangoria that probably came out around the time of New Beginning, and there's another thing that was cut probably by the ratings board, but there's on the cover there was a shot of this character with like once again this character gets it with a cleaver, so like a dummy head of this character and the cleaver like next to his face or something like that. So they probably made a fake head for this character to chop the cleaver into, and of course the ratings, they probably did so much stuff that it was just cut by the ratings board, and it's just such a bummer because obviously this is what I mean, like the kill of this character in the movie is the exact same as probably it would appear on TV, just cleaver coming down, exiting shot, and a sound effect, and that's it.
Yeah, it probably would have made the TV stations would have made their job a lot easier showing this film. They probably just ran it as is, which is what it is. But I mean, yeah, I don't know if the edited gore for this will ever be found or whatever. We don't even have like a rough cut version of it like we do in for part 7. There's not even that like 7th generation video quality edit of it, man, which I think it might be the only movie in it that we don't have like any like footage, like even in like bad condition now that we don't have like the full kills of, man. Because I mean, like now we've finally got part 2. I think this is the only one that we don't have in any form at all.
Yeah, definitely one of them, that's for sure. It's kind of a bummer. I mean, you can tell, like I say, on the back of the VHS cover, there's more, more stuff they probably filmed for Junior's death. I've seen a fake head for this guy's death, and probably a lot more, and it's just like, God dang, what a bummer.
I think that's one other reason, man, like, even though I don't really dwell on, I think that's another reason why it's hard for me to enjoy the film, because it is just so heavily edited, man. Like if the gore was there, it'd probably get bumped up at least another notch or whatever, like on my rating scale, I guess. But just wanted to go back to that film, that old film they were watching, and it's a Paramount film, so that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, I always thought that was cool. They're watching a Paramount film, and not to spoil it, but it looks like the guy looks like a cool movie, because it looks, by the way, it looks like he's bringing her out into the water to kill her and throw overboard. It looks like that, I don't know if that's just how Danny Steinman made it look by the the cut, but it looks like the end of the movie is him bringing her out to the boat, killing her, and going back to shore and walking away. Maybe it's just how he made it look, I don't know, but I've definitely been interested in seeing that movie forever. I gotta figure out how to do it one day.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing it myself. There's nothing like watching movies that have got links to other films like that, and I enjoy that stuff quite a bit.
Absolutely, and I'm a fan of those films anyway, from the 30s and 40s.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, dude, I've been watching films from those eras ever since I was a little kid, man. I mean, movies being in black and white, and that never really bothered me, man. I remember like people like finding it so strange, like this kid who's like 8, 9 years old is like watching, like the Maltese Falcon or whatever, like some old Betty Davis film, like whatever happened to Baby Jane, or Psycho. I mean, Psycho is probably the most like accessible black and white movie of all time, I'd say. Like, even kids today, like, I think if you're going to try to get them into black and white films, I think that would be where to start, Yeah. It's probably like the most modern black and white movie, like, of that kind, I guess.
That's a good point, yeah. Introduction to black and white cinema.
Yeah. Then you get that scene where Robin goes up to her room, and you really get the idea that she regrets blowing him off, and we get some more titties, which are always appreciated.
Yeah, by this time in the movie, it's the third pair, if my counting is correct.
Debbie Sue Voorhees, Alana, and Robin.
They get smaller as we go on.
Yeah, I think. Well, Debbie Sue Voorhees is like is hers bigger than Alana's? I'm not sure. Alana's are pretty big too. I don't know. That did be interesting to.
Yeah, let's do some
find out
research.
definitively, I guess.
Yeah, let's do some investigative
important
work.
research.
Yeah.
Yeah, investigative research.
I'm an investigative journalist. Take off your clothes now.
Give them to me now. But even her kill, Robin, is sort of a little bit reminiscent of Bacon's kill and Debbie's kill from part 3. Little bit.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's just a kind of a callback to Kevin Bacon and the Debbie character from the third film. Did we skip? Did we not really talk too much about? There's a man with no life in his eyes.
Oh no, I'm getting to that.
Oh, okay. Does Robin?
Also, I wanted them.
Does Robin die before there's a man with no life in his eyes?
Yeah, literally just before that.
Oh, okay.
And I wanted to mention like how I can't remember his name again, but the guy that liked her, his body's in her bed, right? And I always thought that was fucking creepy. Like if you were to roll over and then like with your eyes closed and then suddenly open them and you see like a dead body there, freaking out, that scared the shit out of you. But it also kind of reminds me of Nettie, how Nettie's on the top bunk in the original film.
Oh, there you go.
That always kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah, that's true. It's kind of a reminder of that whole setup there, the bunk bed in the cabin of the first film with the victim on top, and I see. Yeah, the blade from below. Okay.
Yeah. You never thought of that before?
Well, I never really thought about the Nettie aspect. I've always thought about the kind of the homage to Kevin Bacon and the Friday 3 kill of Debbie, but I don't know if I thought about the Nettie aspect of the corpse being on top of the bunk bed. Yeah, you might have brought that to my attention.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's the next scene it comes up with Violet doing a robot with sing it.
You want me to sing it?
Yeah, sing it.
There's a man with no life in his eyes.
There you go. Yeah, good track, man. That's another positive of the film, and I really like that song. That's it's on my Spotify playlist, man. It's been there for quite some time. But yeah, I always appreciate that song and that scene. When Violet turns around though, when he's clearly in the room, where the fuck did he hide? Like, what is he like crouching down behind her bed or what? Like there was clearly almost nowhere for him to hide there.
No, there was like a little spot there onto the to the left there.
Oh yeah, you're right. I've just come up to that part now. Yeah, there's like a little off-cut part of the room. Yeah, okay, fair enough. But do you know about like what Violet's original kill was supposed to be?
Yeah, wasn't it macheted in the crotch or something?
Yep, right in the hoo-ha. She was supposed to get it. Yeah, but there was no way the ratings boards were going to let that fly.
Oh my God! Honestly, yeah, I'm kind of almost glad. I mean, that seems a little unnecessary. What are your thoughts on the original kill?
Yeah, that's the bit. Yeah, that's going a bit far, man. Like even though you don't see anything at all, that similar kill that's similar to that with the hot curling iron in Sleepaway Camp. That's like, oh man, where Judy gets it with the hot curling iron. It's like, oh man, like even though you don't see it, you can totally see it in your mind, man. And it's like, oh, dude, what a way to go.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the Pinehurst Ranch and all that's in the game. This whole building is in the game, isn't it?
Oh, okay, that's cool. Can you is Violet's room decked out with posters on the wall, or did they not go that far?
Oh yeah, it's a pretty much faithful recreation. Even the if you've ever noticed that the no handball playing sign, even that is hanging on the wall and stuff. So
Wow.
yeah, it's a pretty apt recreation. And Tommy's room's there with the mask sitting on the shelves and things like that. It was the last map in the game, actually, man, before the game ceremoniously got fucking cancelled because of what's going on with all this bullshit with the lawsuits and that. But yeah, it was the last map stage, if you will, that they got to do. Yeah, man, it's pretty faithfully recreated.
So does that mean they did the first 5 films then?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. Damn it. So they never got to do 6 or 7.
No, they did do, like, they were actually working on Jason X, the Grendel ship, like, while everything, like, yeah, like, just before everything kicked off with the lawsuit and stuff. And they actually pretty much finished that, but they never released it. But there have been people that have, like, hacked the game that have got, like, access to it now. So there's, like, like, walkthrough plays of that on YouTube and whatnot, which is cool. But yeah, it's a real shame they didn't get to do at least 6 and 7.
Yeah, gosh dang it.
Yeah. But yeah, I really hope that someday that game gets like a reboot or a remake or something, and they get to continue on. But who knows, you know?
Absolutely.
The whole lawsuit thing, man, like, it's crazy, man. This thing's been going on for years. I mean, how long ago was that now that, like, the actual decision was made that Victor made? Like, that Victor won? That was, like, even, what, I want to say at least more than 6 months ago, and still no news on anything, you know?
I know. Well, yeah, right. So, I mean, I think even after he wins it, then, I mean, I think Cunningham can appeal it, and it's just like, oh my God. So this,
No, he's already appealed. They already threw out the appeal, so
so it's
as
supposed.
far as I know, yeah, like, Victor's won, but even after that, I think there's still, like, a whole bunch of legal mumbo jumbo that they have to sort out before they can even go ahead with anything, like whether it's a video game or a movie. Or I think like somehow recently they freed up merchandise again and stuff, like they were allowed to continue on with, like, the NECA stuff and all that, but even that was, like, halted for a bit of a brief period. But like, even though he won, I don't think he can cut Sean out completely. I think Sean still has to get paid somehow or whatever, dude. I don't know, but yeah, the whole thing's a mess. And, like, someone, like, I'd thought about this myself already, but someone brought it up on a stream I was listening to the other day, where they were like, well, what happens if one of these guys dies? You know what I mean? Like, Sean and Victor aren't the youngest guys anymore, man. Like, they're both, like, pushing 80 something. You know what I mean? So, like, they're kind of getting to a point where, I hate to say it, but they're both living on borrowed time. And what happens then when one of them dies? Like, what, does it just get reverted? Yeah, do the rights get reverted back to their one of their family members, or does then Paramount get control of it, or what? You know what I mean? It just seems like that would open up a whole new can of worms.
Yeah, I know. That's probably what's going to happen. It's just going to never, it's probably just be in limbo for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, who knows, man? I mean, you hear about other, like, lawsuit cases with movies and that, and you hear about them. Yeah, they're, like, lasted for years, man. They're going on for, like, 20 years or something. But the thing is, though, like, Friday is such a big property now, especially, dude. Like, you'd think at some point in the near future, there's got to be some sort of resolvement, man. Like, I mean, yeah, there's literally, like, oodles of money on the table just ready to be made. You know what I mean? I mean, not that I'm sitting here, clamoring for another movie necessarily, but I mean, hell, I wouldn't be opposed to them finding a way to continue the game again. Would be cool, like at least I don't know. Like I know gun media have said at this point ad nauseum, like the game's done, we're never going to return to it. But I mean, who knows? Like never say never. Maybe they can sell the rights to someone else or whatever. Another independent company, up and coming company, can take it over from there and continue on where gun left off, I guess.
Yeah, it's a bummer, and like you say, it's kind of funny that we're pretty much I think you and I are kind of in agreement where we just as soon not even necessarily have another movie, but it's so bad, things are so bad where we'd almost rather have them continue the game, like you say, than do another movie. Those are bad times when we gotta think like that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I wouldn't be opposed to another. It's not like I don't want there to be another movie. It's just the fact that I just don't think it would be very good. That's my problem with it. It's not like I'm sitting here saying, "Nah, like don't touch it, don't leave it alone. I don't ever want it to be touched again." I just don't have any faith in like what they would do nowadays with it.
Absolutely, yeah, we're in pretty much agreement on that one.
Yeah, but getting back to part 5, one thing I do appreciate is the return of the body through the window in this one, where Gramps gets thrown through the window.
There you go.
Here's one thing: how did Roy know to do that? Like, unless it was, I don't know, printed in some article that Jason did that, like threw bodies through windows and stuff. Like, how did he know to do that?
Well, yeah, I'm sure it was in a news article with a still of Jason throwing body through the window. I'm sure it was a part of the news article, the photo of him throwing Rob through the window from Final Chapter. It was there was a photographer there.
Dude, that's classic. Yeah, even in the game, you get like Effelin Jr.'s house is in the game as well, and
Oh
the
man!
barn as well.
Oh my
Isn't
God!
it?
That's great.
I told you, dude. You gotta play it sometime, dude.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, it really is a lot of fun, man. I haven't actually played it for a while now, man. It's probably been like about a month, so I'm starting to get the itch to play it again soon. I'll probably hit up my buddy sometime soon and see if he wants to have a few rounds.
So, very briefly before we get back to New Beginning, what are there any maps that you prefer to play, or that you can say you've played a lot more than any other maps?
I would say that it's, I guess, a biased opinion in a way, but my favourite map has got to be the Part 2 map, the Packanack Lodge.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it's my favourite movie.
I should have known
But
that.
then sorry?
I said I should have known that. After that, is it going to be Final Chapter?
Damn right. Yeah, Final Chapter, and then, yeah, pretty much goes in order of the way I love the movies, pretty much. And then, yeah, the map for the first game. The first movie, the Crystal Lake map. Yeah, man. Part 3 map is fun though. The Higgins Haven and stuff. Yeah, even the Pinehurst map. Yeah, it's a decent map. The only thing with the Pinehurst map, it's so large, man. Like to get to from one end to another, like takes quite a while. Because like your character obviously like has a stamina gauge, so you can't just keep continually running. Because if you could, then Jason would never get you, would he? So your stamina runs out every once in a while, and you got to stop and rebuild it. So it can take a while to get from one end to the other if you need to. But yeah, man. The game's fun stuff, man. Like I've said, man. Yeah, like my good buddy Daniel, man. I wouldn't know him at all if it wasn't for the game.
Yeah, that's really cool. And Daniel's located where?
He's in Sydney.
Oh, okay, cool. Has there been
Yeah.
any interest to Have you guys ever met in real life? Is there any interest in that?
No, we've never actually met in real life, man, but it is something that we talk about all the time, man. Like, it's definitely gonna happen at some point, man. Well, I mean, the initial plan was to for him to come down here when we do the movie, man, because I've written a part especially for him in the film, so that was sort of the original plan. But yeah, one way or another, man, definitely we'll hang out at some point because I mean, yeah, we've known each other for geez, man, a little over 5 years now. Yeah, we still haven't met, so it's weird, man. It's weird how close you can become with somebody that you've never actually met physically. It's really weird, dude, because we're really good friends, even though we've never met. So it's really weird.
Yeah, it's I guess a part of living in the future times that we now live in. What I was gonna say, technologically advanced era. We're living in the 21st century. Re.
Yeah, I mean, it's even sort of like, it's really weird for me. Like I know I've mentioned this before already, but how, like I watched your channel for years, man, and here we are sitting here doing this. Like I would have never, like if you had told me, whatever, 10 years ago when I first started watching your channel that one day we'd be doing these discussions, I wouldn't believe it. It's funny how things work out like that sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. One of the benefits of technology.
Yeah, it's not all grim, I guess.
It's not all Skynet.
But but what's your thoughts on I guess the climax of this film, man? The whole barn fight with um, Pam wielding the chainsaw against Roy and things like that.
Oh, okay, good question. Before I get to that, something that's crazy I didn't notice for decades and decades. I just noticed this. I don't know if it was last year possibly, but it's so funny to me. When I noticed it for the first time, I mean it's been there for decades and I didn't see it, but it's for the shot of when they discover the bodies in the bedroom and they Pam and Reggie go running down the stairs. If you look at that moment, it's like she as they're running down the stairs, like Pam keeps will grab his arm and let go of it and grab it again. It seems like she doesn't know what to do with his arm and his hands kind of just flopping at the wrist. Like it's just so awkward. It looks so funny and it's so crazy that I've been watching this movie for decades and I never saw it. If you've got it on now, I'd recommend you going back there and looking at that. It's just so funny. It's like, what do I do with your arm here? I don't care. It's just my hands just flopping. I don't care. But to answer your question, yeah, it is interesting that they actually kind of, do something, and it's like the first time in the franchise. But at the end of the day, you're 5 films in at this point. It's going to get hard to not do the little bit of the same thing over and over. It's kind of interesting how they end up for a climax in the 5th film back in the barn again, and I guess because it's a different barn and a different situation, and this time it's actually raining. I guess I don't have a big problem with it. I can remember on the back of the VHS in North America, another image that was on the back was Pam welding the chainsaw, and I always wondered before I ever saw this movie, God, what the hell's going on? Is this crazed guy with this hockey mask and this woman welding a chainsaw? Like, this movie's probably a gore fest. But yeah, that bit where Pam comes out, with the chainsaw running is really cool, and even though I know it's coming, I laugh out loud every time after it dies, and the smile on Reggie's face just disappears into a worried look. It's just so funny to me, and that one moment is a good kind of example of this whole film where it's just, I don't know, it exists to just like, I don't know, for me it's like just exists to have a good time, and it's just so funny when that chainsaw stops and Reggie's smile vanishes.
Yeah, that's very well said, man. Yeah, I guess I've never really thought of this, but it could even be considered. I mean, a lot of these things probably weren't conscious when they were making the film, but You could argue that it's a bit of a callback to part 2 where Jenny starts up the chainsaw against Jason.
Oh yeah, I guess I never thought of that either. Yeah, that scene with Jenny and the chainsaw, it just happened so fast. Sometimes I forget that it happened at all. But that's a good point.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it is. Yeah, pretty overdone with pretty quickly. I will say one thing though, like Roy, yeah, he's not as scared of the chainsaw coming at him as I guess Jason is. Jason really he's freaked out by that chainsaw. But I do remember mentioning when we were talking about that, like he's probably never friggin' seen a chainsaw before. Whereas, Roy would know obviously what a chainsaw is.
Yeah, it is kind of funny how Roy's so kind of confident that he can just keep the chainsaw at bay with his little blade there. It's kind of interesting. It is funny to see. It is funny to see like Roy in the barn as he keeps on getting. Well, he's already got bashed with the frickin' plow, and he's mortal or whatever, and normal human. So every time he gets a wound, it's kind of like, oh my god. Unlike the normal Jason, he's like he gets kind of slower and slower, and as he gets more wounds, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, that wound from whatever, like the bulldozer, wouldn't that'd be enough? Getting hit by a bulldozer like that would probably kill you, wouldn't it? Like,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think you'd survive that.
At the very least, you're gonna break some ribs, and you're not gonna be able to move without being in pain, excruciating pain. But it's a fifth film in a Friday the 13th franchise, so we let it slide.
Oh yeah, of course. I was just I mean, obviously, it doesn't bother me. I'm just pointing it out, like, man, that's all. But oh yeah, I can definitely attest to that. I don't know about yourself, but I've cracked a few ribs before, man, and I'm telling you, like, even just like moving your upper torso, like even if you're like laying down on a bed and you just turn over, it's excruciating pain. So imagine like trying to like actually move around and like have combat with someone, man. You'd be in agony.
Yeah, exactly. I'm fortunate enough to never have broken or cracked ribs, so I can only imagine.
I don't want him in it. It's not fun. It hurts, and it takes a long time too for him to heal too.
Okay, I don't think I'll crack my ribs.
But like that's one thing I've always um thought about and thought was interesting is like the way Roy reacts to Tommy, like the way like he he turns around and he's like looking at him like it's almost like is he like trying to like play the role of actually being Jason there in the way of like remembering who Tommy is, like, you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I'm trying to say?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, exactly. So, Tommy comes into the barn, and Pam yells, Tommy, and then Roy, exactly. It's like he's playing the part, like he read that newspaper article with all the actual photos of Jason, and he knows everything about the incident that happened at the Jarvises. So he's like playing the part of, okay, well, I better pretend to recognize this guy. Yeah, it's so hilarious just thinking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember thinking about that like way back in one of the my earliest viewings of the film. Obviously not the first viewing, but one of the first viewings of the film, and I always thought that was funny that like he's like, oh yeah, no shit, I better play along with this.
Yeah, I guess me sitting here thinking about it. I guess the real reason it's probably in there is just to kind of to I guess convince
fool the audience.
Yeah, convince the audience that this is Jason. But I mean, why the hell does he have two perfectly good eyeballs?
Yeah, actually, that's something that it's actually never occurred to me. I don't think, man, I've never thought about that. But,
Holy shit!
That's a very good point. But I've thought about the whole fact that like he doesn't have like obviously the wound on the side of his head or anything like that. I'm like, yeah, why does he look so healthy? And you know what I mean? He's supposed to be Jason, but yeah, the eyeball thing, I've never really. I mean, I don't know. It's probably occurred to me at some point, but I've never really, I guess, dwelled upon it. But yeah, you're totally right. That's like a really, really big giveaway, man.
Yeah,
Although I will counter that because in Freddy versus Jason, I believe he has use of both of his eyes in that movie. I think, doesn't he? Pretty sure.
well, I'm not the right person to ask. I don't watch that very often.
But we're going to talk about it.
Oh yeah, well we'll definitely talk about it. No, the more I'm thinking about it, I think they got a lazy eye in Freddy versus Jason. If I had to take a guess.
I think he's got a lazy eye, but I still think it's somewhat functional though.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong though. I'm not too sure, man. I could be wrong about it, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Let me backtrack just a little bit. What's your thoughts on Melanie Kinnaman's obsession with the sweater, disappearing, reappearing, disappearing, reappearing? I'm of the opinion that she's a little too obsessive about it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up earlier, man, but I forgot to. She talks about that in Crystal Lake Memories. Yeah, it's a pretty bad continuity error, isn't it? And she has said that she thinks she looks best in the film when she's wet. No pun intended, I guess.
Well, I mean, I'd agree. I mean, that's true. I'd agree with that.
Yeah. And yeah, there's like a bit of an interesting story. I can't remember. She had something wrong with her. I'm not sure if it was she was sick. I think she got sick one day, and she wanted the day off or whatever, and Danny Simon like refused to give her the day off, and some like real seedy looking dude came up to her and he's like, "Oh, I'm the doctor on set," and all that, and he like shoved this like huge friggin' like B12 needle like right in her ass, and like after that she reckons like she could have shot for 3 days straight. She doesn't know what was in it, but whatever it was, it killed whatever sickness she had, and yeah, she was raring to go. And also earlier on in the production, she would go up to Danny Simon and ask him, like, what's her motivation for this or that scene, and he would just blow her off and just be like, just do it. And after that, she was like, yeah, it looks like, I remember, I think her exact words in the interview were like, you're going to have to go in on this one on your own, old girl, so I don't think Danny Simon was much of a actor's director, man,
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it. Kind of the opposite of what you consider yourself, correct?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I'd be a lot more concerned with getting their performances almost. I mean, I think that's such a big part of a movie, man. Like, you got to get the performances right, dude. And some, I mean, it depends on the actor. Some actors don't need all that much motivation, but some do. Like even when I made my short film, man, some of the actors, I mean, they didn't need that much direction. You give them give them the script, and they'd kind of figure out what the character was from just reading the script, and maybe just give like a couple of notes here and there, and they'd just pick up the ball and run with it, man. Whereas other actors, you had to give them a bit of support and like coach them through some of it, which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that either, as long as the performance is there on screen, and it's accurate, I guess.
Yeah, that is interesting how different performers have different ways of approaching it. Some would rather probably not have any suggestions, while others would just as soon have suggestions.
Yeah, I don't think Hitch was big on talking to actors much, was he? I don't think. I think he got around that though, where he would a lot of the actors he would cast were very well established, well trained, actors that had done a lot of work before. So he probably got a way of not having to do that so much, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. He was more interested in what was going on with the camera.
Yeah, actually, I remember this blew me away. He actually thought that the actual process of the whole process almost of like actually making the film, like even shooting the film, was like the most boring part of the process. Man, he was a much bigger fan of like the planning of a movie, like the whole storyboards and the planning of planning everything out. Man, it was almost like they yeah, like once he'd done all that, it was just a matter of just getting it on the screen, and that was kind of like the boring part for him, which is interesting.
Yeah, that is something. There's so many stages to movie making. Different movie makers are going to have favorite stages. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, but so like I mean, I know you touched on it earlier and whatnot, but like, did you have like a really strong reaction when you figured out that it wasn't Jason, where Roy meets his demise by falling off the the barn onto the spikes, or were you just kind of, oh, okay?
No, yeah, I can't remember, but I mean, I would imagine it was kind of like a what the fuck. I don't think I said that because my dad was probably right there, but probably in my head, we probably both kind of went like, oh, like what's the deal with that? And then it's funny how, yeah, I would imagine it's something like that, and that's probably the reaction that the majority of people. I mean, I'd find it hard to believe that there's people out there that didn't initially have that reaction. I mean, how many people out there are going to be like, "Oh, that's so cool! It's not Jason."
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I definitely had a pretty strong reaction. I was like, "What the heck? What the fuck? Like, what?" But one thing I've always thought, was interesting is like, did you ever think it was kind of convenient how one of those spikes didn't go through his head, like his face?
Yeah,
Like he kind of lands perfectly on it, like it doesn't get him in the head at all.
yeah. I think one thing I can remember is like when you first see his face, like it's really confusing because they're showing you a face that's kind of going, in this kind of bald cap face, but it's like it's so dark. I mean, you can't tell because the face is in the bald cap. It's like you can't even tell who it is. So it's kind of like this confusing moment of okay, they're showing us who it is, but I don't know who this is.
Yeah, that's true. What about the fact that like they've just got these like this like friggin' row of spikes like just randomly sitting like on the ground, like because that's not dangerous, hey?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's kind of goofy as well. Like if yeah, it's just like Pinehurst, this halfway house for mental degenerates and whatever the hell they are. Let's have the most dangerous weapon filled environment for these people that are currently on the honor system. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's something that I don't think I've ever thought about, but like the fact that there's a barn there, man. Like I guess like the originally it was like probably owned by like farmer, like it was land farmers ranch or whatever before it was turned into the loony bin, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I mean, it probably the location I would imagine is a farm, and I just kind of wrote it into the film that I guess it's a farm slash halfway house. I would imagine because you can see when they bring Tommy in at the beginning that Vic is on that tractor driving it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
And it looks like
Um,
and also
this property,
also
like,
Gramps.
yeah,
It looks like they maybe they incorporated the orange grove of the property into the movie because Gramps at one point at the beginning can be seen with a bag of oranges over his shoulder.
yeah, that's right. I did notice that Yeah, I was looking at it earlier. I know this property, I think, is still around, dude. There was a guy on YouTube did a video not long ago. He couldn't get onto it, but like the actual site was his private property. But you can tell from the gates and stuff that the building looks like it's still there, and that, and the diner that that Alana works out, and that's still there. It looks almost the same as it did in the movie.
Yeah, I can remember when my dad and I went to California in when the hell was it, 2010, that I was kind of researching that and trying to figure out if it was someplace we could go. I had this thought of possibly going to the New Beginning Diner, but we never did.
That's a bummer.
I'll say.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, you've already touched on it, but yeah, I just want to give my thoughts on, like, yeah, obviously, you get the explanation at the end from the cop and that of, like, why Roy did what he did, and yeah, the fact that they've got that Jason mugshot. It's like there was a photographer. It's like, hang on a minute, buddy, before you kill me or kill this person, just let me take a snapshot of you, please. Like, what the heck? Like, I mean, there's some goofy stuff in this movie, man, but I mean, that's really, like, really? Like, they didn't think about that when they made the movie. Like, that had to have occurred to someone. Like, how dumb that really is.
It does make you wonder why, because I was just sitting here listening to you and thinking, of the sketch in Final Chapter. Why not just have, a clipping with a sketch of Hockey Mask Jason?
Exactly.
It's just so strange.
Yeah, exactly, man. It's just, I don't know, man. It's just it's so bizarre. Just, I mean, I guess, like, so much of this film is in a lot of ways, but I mean, yeah, like, what's your thoughts on the ending, where I guess you get the fake out dream sequence that is so typical of Friday to go out on, and then you get the actual ending of the movie, which, I mean, I don't know, like, I would even argue that maybe that whole part maybe almost is a dream, like both parts of that, man, like even where he's like standing behind the door with the knife and that, and is about to attack, like I would even say that's maybe a dream.
Yeah, that's a good point. That would have been a kind of a cool way to open the sixth film, is to show that that bit from the very end of part 5 and have him wake up from that. That way we can, dispel that notion of him becoming the killer. It's so funny how both Final Chapter and part 5 end the same way, with like, okay, Tommy's going to be the killer next time. It's just like,
yeah, it's almost like this, this promise that just never gets delivered. Hey, I mean, they kind of did the same thing with Halloween 4, dude, at the end where Jamie tries to kill her stepmom. They never fucking delivered on that either,
Yeah, that's so freaking funny. That'd be so funny to have like a franchise of 4 or 5 movies and have a character that's an ongoing character in all 4 or 5 films, and just end each one the same way with them, doing something heinous at the end, and looking like they're gonna be the killer, and it happens every time, but they never do. That'd be so funny.
Yeah, that's also the other thing, man, I meant to mention earlier, man, is like this movie, like it almost feels like a movie length episode of the TV show Friday the 13th, almost, to me, man, in some ways. Like, I think, you could almost, insert this movie into that show, man, and I think, like, you would buy it as, like, part of that series in some ways. I don't know. you probably wouldn't agree with that, but I've always kind of thought that, man.
Okay, in part because of the imposter Jason aspect, or
Yeah, that and just like the overall, like kind of look and feel of the film. Like, I mean, I just might sound a little bit condescending, but I don't think the film looks as professional as the earlier films did. I mean, I know you'll disagree with that, but it does kind of have a bit of like a, put it this way, like a higher end TV production to me in some ways, man.
well, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, I mean, it has that film quality about it, but it just, I don't know, something about it has always felt like a bit of a TV film to me, man. Even though, like I said, like it's got some higher production than a lot of the TV films, especially from that era, man. But I don't know, I just don't reckon it would be that much of a stretch, man, to say that this was like a movie length episode of the series. And hey, you could even work it in that, like, you know, the blue chevron mask is like cursed, hey, and that's like why, like Roy, like like became like Jason, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty good point. While you were talking, it just occurred to me, like, it'd be interesting. I've never seen a TV cut of this film. It'd be interesting to see a TV cut of this film and how they deal with all the nudity and stuff like that and profanity and stuff. That'd be funny. I wonder if I can only assume a TV cut exists, but that'd be funny to see.
Yeah. I mean, have heard, like I've said, like I remember, like, times when I've like been, discussing this film online with people, and people would ask me, like, give me the reasons why you don't like the film, other than it not being, Jason. I'll give all the reasons, and I'll say, also, I know you brought it up earlier, but I never really mentioned it myself. But yeah, the overall sleaze factor to the film, man, like, does set it apart for the rest of the films too. And I've heard people say, "Oh, but wait a minute, like the first four films have got that too." And I'm like, I mean, yeah, there's definitely sexual energy in the first four films, but not like it is in this movie, dude. Like, come on, like you can't really make that comparison. I don't think that's a fair comparison, just because there's some nudity in the other films. What do you reckon about that?
Oh, I'd agree. This movie definitely seems like it was made by a softcore porn director.
Yeah, yeah. I think this was his last film too, Simon. As far as I know. I mean, I haven't done extensive research on him, but I think this might have been the last film he ever made. Which is kind of funny. You'd think, like, being like, filming a big franchise and stuff, you'd think it would have opened up doors. But then, I mean, then again, though, like the film kind of has the reputation that it has, so I guess that would work against you there.
Maybe it closed doors for him.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. But I don't mind the final shot of Tommy. I think it's pretty cool how the camera just zooms right into the mask and stuff, like right into his eye. I think that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that is cool, and they do a little post zoom in there where they're actually zooming in on the frame. They might have, for Blu-ray, they might have done some DNR on that shot to try to get rid of the grain. But if you watch, like, I don't know, the VHS, Laserdisc, or the first DVD, it gets all grainy when they zoom in, because they're zooming into the frame in post production to get closer to the eye. But one thing I wanted to mention, I think I brought it up before. It's hard to, we've talked for hours at this point and hours about the franchise at this point. But one thing I wanted to mention before we end is the little notion of, after that that second dream Tommy has, where Jason's been kind of absorbed into his being and possibly he's become possessed by Jason. There's that one moment where he, like, takes out that IV thing, and right around that point, there's a part in the music that goes, instead of the ch ch ch, it goes like ta ta ta, almost like it's doing a Tommy thing with the classic Jason, echo thing. It goes from ch ch to ta ta. Have you picked up on that? I think I mentioned that to you before.
I have picked up on it, but I've never made that connection. I've picked up that it sounds different, but I've never picked up that it sounds more like Tommy, like ta ta ta. Like I've never. That's interesting. So you reckon that would have been, I guess, intentional?
Well, that's my assumption that Harry Manfredini did that on purpose. Like, for all intents purposes, at that point of the movie, Tommy is now becoming Jason. So maybe just for a little fun, we can just go ta ta ta. Ta. That's always been my assumption.
Yeah, yeah, you're probably right, man. That's pretty interesting, man. To say the least. I will say this. I meant to mention this earlier too. Like while we're talking about Harry. Is I've always found this score kind of similar to the score he did for Slaughter High in some ways, man. It reminds me of the score in that movie. I think it's kind of similar, and it was around, I believe it was like either the same year or very close to when he did Slaughter High too.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I'm not as familiar with Slaughter High as perhaps you are, but I know that it is fun to, because obviously the main bulk of work I know Harry Manfredini is from the Friday the 13th franchise, but it is funny to listen to things like Don't or Hills Have Eyes Part 2 and stuff like that, and kind of go like, oh, that sounds like this era of Friday the 13th because he did it around the same time.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, I've seen Slaughter High a fair few times over the years, but I want to say, like, it might even be to the point, man, where it's like some of the cues in Slaughter High might even be like stuff that was left over from this score, man, that he just like said, "Ah, fuck it, I'll put this in this movie." I'd have to rewatch it again to make like a full assumption of that, but yeah, I want to say it's pretty similar at times. The score.
Yeah, I would imagine something like that would be completely possible. Harry just recording something for another movie. He's got something left over and throw it in something else. That's probably done a lot.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is with Harry, man, I've always thought this, man. Like, I mean, okay, these are slasher films, and like especially back then. They were frowned upon and that, but like, there's no denying that the man had talent, man. Like, it's kind of surprising to me in a way that he never went on to like even bigger projects, like that he didn't work with people like Spielberg or Ron Howard or someone like that. You know what I mean? Like because the guy had talent there,
You say it like he's dead, my man.
Well, yeah, actually, as soon as those words left my lips, yeah, I was thinking that, like, sounds like I'm talking to like he's dead, but nah, dude, like, yeah, he does, man. He does have talent, but, yeah, man, it's, I don't know, I always thought that, man, that, it was just weird how he didn't get more higher profile, projects.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like if you really, think back on his kind of filmography, it's like he never really was able to get out of the more obscure, lower budget films, and it's just a bummer.
Yeah, I mean, you think about how iconic the whole is, right? Like, like if he can create that for this franchise, man, like imagine what he would have probably come up with for like other things, you know what I mean? Like other completely different, film genres. Like I could see him, I reckon he probably would have done well in like the action film, like, genre or something like that, It's, I don't know. I just think it's a bit of a shame in some ways that, yeah, his career went like that. Here's an interesting story about Harry. There's one guy I watch on YouTube told this story. This guy was at a convention one time, and he went up to Harry Manfredini to like ask him some question, and And like out of nowhere, Harry just like he's like, "What size shirt do you take?" And he's like, like a 3X." He's like, "Oh, here you go." Like, and just like throws his like Friday the 13th like shirt at him that had like the notes from like his cues from the movies and that on it. And he's like, "Okay, I guess I'm buying this shirt off Harry. I guess."
That's a good
Yeah, I thought.
sales technique.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny, man. But yeah, man. I mean, I know we've already, you know, gone on and on and on at this point about how important Harry's contribution is, man. But his music is it's just magic in these movies, man. You know, I can't gush about it enough, man. He's the man, man. You know, like a lot of horror fans out there would probably give me shit for this, man. But I like his score for this even more than I like Carpenter's score for Halloween, man. And that's a high bar, man. That's a score I love too. But I think what Harry does, in especially the first four films, is just it just doesn't get any better for that. It just doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, well, definitely complete agreement on from me about that. That's absolutely. And just out of curiosity, have you seen Deep Star 6?
Yeah, I have seen that. I watched it maybe like a couple of years ago. It was, I don't know, man. Like it was pretty forgettable. I almost remember nothing about the movie. I think I know Cunningham directed that. Did Harry do the music for that as well?
Yeah, that's why I brought it up. I just wanted to know if if you'd seen that and heard the music. I think the music he did was pretty good, just for kind of this more uplifting, pretty ocean, under the ocean theme he came up with. So that's why I brought it up. It's kind of a, I mean, I guess it's kind of a horror sci-fi, but it's a little bit different than a horror movie.
Hmm. Yeah, I only ever saw it the once, and
Oh, okay.
yeah, I don't know, just nothing about it really held my attention, man. I don't know. For me, I like to forget a film that I only saw. It was probably even less than 2 years ago. It was probably like a little over a year ago or more. But yeah, I don't know. It's just it didn't really stick with me. I mean, that's the funny thing about even Cunningham, dude. You know what I mean? He directed this iconic horror film, but then never really went on to do much else of note. You know what I mean? And it just, I mean, that's like, I can't remember if I mentioned it on air or off air. I think the last time we talked, when we were talking about the final chapter, but it's like, I've suspected for many years, dude, that Steve Miner had a bigger hand than has ever been said in the original film, even, dude. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, yeah, you think about it, like Steve Miner went on to did 2 and 3. Then he did H2O as well, and Lake Placid, other things in the horror genre as well, and like, yeah, like Sean really never really did much else. I mean, Deep Star 6, I think, is like the only other film I can think of that he directed after Friday. I mean, I'm sure there's other things, but yeah.
It seems to me, well, didn't he do the New Kids? It seems to me then he did at least one comedy. It seems to me like he did.
Okay, yeah, the New Kids, yeah, I forgot about that one. That's a decent little film. I wouldn't say it's anything special, but it's a decent little flick.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with his filmography as a director, but
it's almost like directing is, yeah, it's just a means to it's just like a living to him. You know what I mean? Like he it just seems like the whole filmmaking process is just a way to make money for him. He doesn't seem to have passion about it. You know what I mean? I've just always gotten that off him from interviews and whatnot, man.
yeah, I'd say that's probably a pretty good description.
Yeah, yeah. But you know, you got to give the man some credit. You know, without him, we wouldn't have this franchise, I guess. But yeah, man. I don't know if you want. I guess we can start to close out the conversation. I don't know. I don't really have too much else to say. I guess we've covered a lot of the bases. What about yourself?
Yeah, I think we pretty much covered it here. We went longer than you thought, and about as long as I thought. That's because I have ultimate control and power over the universe. But
Yeah, I was pretty surprised, man. I thought like, maybe 2 hours. I didn't think it would go, you'd get anywhere near this long of a conversation. But yeah, I mean, more power to us, I guess, man. I mean, even though, like I said, even though it's far from one of my favorite entries, it was still fun to talk about, man.
yeah, for me, I would say the shortest one would probably be Jason Goes to Hell. I would imagine that would be the shortest discussion because neither of us like that.
Yeah, but I mean, don't underestimate my ability to hate on that fucking movie.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Because I mean, I have a lot of issues with that movie, and yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I think I've told this story like that I have about that movie. I had a run in with someone involved with the movie on the show before, but I'm not sure if I've mentioned it, or I think maybe I did. But I'll save that for when we get to that particular entry. But yeah, man, like I mean, just because I don't like the film doesn't mean I haven't got something to say about it.
Okay, well, that might be the instance where you're going to have more to say than I will. I mean, I'll certainly share my thoughts on your thoughts on aspects of it, but yeah, I mean, that's just a stink bomb in my opinion.
Yeah, there's very few positives about it, man. I mean, there's like maybe a couple of little things, but that's about it, man. You know, it's almost a complete travesty, man. I mean, I think you're probably a bigger fan of it than me, but like, I mean, I kind of almost have like a love-hate relationship with Jason Takes Manhattan, man. Like, I mean, that's far from one of my favorite entries in the franchise too. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's moments about it that I like and stuff, but I mean, the thing about that movie is I get really pissed off when I think about what the movie could have become. You know what I mean? If allowed to be, you know what I mean? And if Paramount hadn't have been such tightwad assholes, you know what I mean? And they made so much money off this franchise by the time they got to Part 8. They could have threw Rob Hedden a friggin' bone, man, you know what I mean? And gave him the budget that he wanted, man, which wasn't all that much. I think it was like 10 to 15 million I think he wanted, which, I mean, you know, I mean, is a lot of money for a slasher, especially in 88. But, you know, it's not like the money wasn't going to be put to good use. You know, the guy had big plans for that movie, and I just think because of that, the film just suffers greatly. You know, and there's other problems I have with the film, like the overall. I'm not even a big fan of like the even overall look of Jason in that movie. No, even though I love Kane, the look of Jason in that movie is kind of weird.
Yeah, I'm probably right with you in regards to that. Just kind of like I probably have more of a connection with it because I saw it in the theater and stuff and grew up with it. But yeah, for me, I mostly don't like Jason Takes Manhattan, which is why I pretty much end at 7. But we'll definitely speak more on those thoughts when we get to those films.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you got me beat by one entry. Hey, you saw Jason, Takes Manhattan, and it was your first one, and mine was Jason Goes to Hell, eh? Because I was only like 2 or something, I think, when Jason Takes Manhattan came out. So I mean, I was barely old enough to see, Jason Goes to Hell. I was like 6 or 7, so yeah.
I know, and I keep mentioning it over and over and over, but it just is such a bummer. One of the things I wish we could change, but me and my dad, we're so close to seeing Seven in the theater, and that would have been a hoot. I really wish that would have happened, but oh well.
Yeah. I mean, like, say for instance, if I was even, like, probably born, if I had been born, say, in like 1974 or 5 or something. Yeah, I mean, like, I bet you $20, man. Like, me and my dad would have seen all of these in the theater together. Like, he would have took me to see all of these, man. And that's one thing, like, in my life, man. Like, I would have loved to experience that, man. I would have loved, like, and like, would have loved to have, like, and not just see him in the theater, but I would have liked to have seen him in the States, man, for the first time. Like, probably, like, somewhere like, I don't know, like LA or New York or something would have been really cool to see a lot of these films with, like, a real, rowdy bunch of, real lively audience. I mean, that's something that can't be understated, man. Seeing a film with a really lively audience can really add a lot, man. Like, I remember when I saw the Evil Dead remake, man, that was a great audience to see the film with, man. Or even another one was Freddy versus Jason and stuff. I don't know if I mentioned this in when we talked about part 4. I don't think I did, actually, but Joe Zito told a good story of when they first started showing the final chapter in theaters, and that, like, at the end of the film, man, like, the audience gave it a standing ovation, man. And he was, like, standing at the back of the theater, Joe Zito was, and you could see, like, on the blank screen, like, the silhouette of, like, the audience, like, clapping, like, and cheering, like it was a rock concert, dude. Like, that's just stuff of magic right there, dude.
Oh, absolutely, and that's a really wonderful way to end this discussion on this film. Yeah, I mean, I think about that too when I'm watching some of the earlier films, or I guess any of the films before 8. It's just like, just how magical it would have been to be able to see all of these in the theater when they initially came out, and it's stuff that an experience that, unless we come across Doc Brown, we probably never gonna get. But kind of a bummer.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the closest thing I ever got, like, I think I mentioned way back in the first episode, and I know I've mentioned it in live shows as well, radio shows, is I got to go to that marathon where they showed the first 8. And don't get me wrong, that was a blast. That was a lot of fun, but obviously not the exact same experience. And it was a bummer too, because like I've mentioned, man, like, that'd be the one thing, because my dad knew, like, just how much of a super fan I was of this franchise, man. It would be the one thing he would rib me about all the time. As much as you love these films, you didn't get to see them in the theater like I did. Like I saw when they first come out in the theater, and then, like, my old man passed away, man. Like, literally, like, 2 months or less, man, before that marathon came up, man. So, like, if it had been like a few months before, or even the year before, man, like, he would have definitely would have went with me to see those, man. So, I mean, and I could have ribbed him about it. I could have been like, I get to see him in the theater now too. Would have been cool, but yeah, man, shit. That would that's probably, like, I don't know, man. Like, what I mean, a bit of an off topic, I guess, but I don't know what I fantasize more, man. Like space travel, like traveling to other planets, or like having, like, my own DeLorean, man. And I'd almost want to have my own DeLorean, man. Like getting to like visit all the different parts of time, man. That to me is just endlessly fascinating, man. Like there'd be so many different time periods and places I would go to. Like I think I might have mentioned this as well, like once before, but like dude, like I would have even like I mean, like yeah, we just said like we'd like to see these in their original run in the theater. Like I'll even take it a step further, dude, and say like I would have liked to have been, even if it had just been like one of the gaffers or something, man, like on the set of like the first movie or the first 4 films or something. You know, like, that would have been awesome.
Oh yes, hell with seeing them in the theater. Or you want to go work on just be a crew guy, just bringing Judy Aronson some coffee.
Yeah, or yeah, driving uh, Amy Still to set every day or something would be cool.
Or yeah, driving Debbie Sue Voorhees to go buy some bras.
Hey, she don't need bras, man. Right?
Oh, that's true.
She can just let them. She can just let them be free, mate.
Okay, well, driving Debbie Sue Voorhees to return the bras.
There you go. But nah, man. Yeah, this has been fun, dude. Yeah, and I'm raring to tear into part 6, man, because I really dig the shit out of part 6. Are you like a big fan of part 6, or you think it's decent?
No, it's way bigger than I think it's decent. I got a strong connection with 6 because it's one of the films that I recorded off TV when I was 12, and one of the films that I saw repeatedly for the first time. So basically, Final Chapter. When I was 12, I had Final Chapter, Part 6, and Part 7 that I watched. Those are the films that I watched the most of when I first got into the franchise. So it's an important entry for me.
Ah, nice. Yeah, it'll make for a really lively conversation, and yeah, because it's one that's very special to me. Yeah, it's right up there with one of my favorites, and just I think it's a very Jason may be like in some ways like he's he's most iconic looking almost in that movie, man. Like as much as I love like his other looks and stuff, like there's something about the way he's shot in that movie. You know what I mean, Jason? Like it's just really memorable in a lot of ways. But yeah, I love Part 6, dude. I got a lot to say about that, folks. I'll be well prepared for that one. There'll be a lot of notes, and yeah, for all I know, that could be an 8-hour show. Who knows?
Holy Hannah! Oh, for the record, do you want to let everyone know, because of your disdain for this film, unlike the previous discussions, you had like 0 notes for this discussion?
Hey, for not having any notes, I think I did pretty well, man. I gave some anecdotes and stuff. Things I do remember from things I've read and interviews, and Crystal Lake memories as well, and things like that. I mean, yeah, for coming in off the cuff, man, I think I did pretty well.
Well, absolutely, and I think everyone else thinks you did as well. Do you want to just hang on after we sign off for a few more words after we sign off the discussion?
Yeah, man, for sure.
All right. Well, if you're good to end discussion, I definitely am. I think we've said everything we've got to say about the new beginning.
Yeah, thanks for listening, folks. If you're still listening, I hope we made it entertaining for you, and you enjoyed the show. And can't wait to come back for part 6. And I guess when we get to part 6, we'll officially be right on halfway through the franchise, eh?
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. When did we start this thing, man? It was like back in, I want to say, like, was it March or something, I think? Yeah, it was, because that was when around the time the last Friday the 13th was, and that was when we dropped the first episode, wasn't it?
Oh, hell, I'll be damned if I know. March or April or something. Yeah, I think maybe it was April.
Yeah, it could have been April. Yeah, but yeah, it was fun, man. Can't wait to do this again.
All right, Jesse. Well, thank you very much for doing another discussion. Thanks, everyone, for listening. And as always, we'll catch you on the next discussion.
Keep it scary, folks.